Get the rest of the defense off. Oh my word!
Perfeita.
4 in a row for Team Queso.
Hope you're enjoying your Sunday and the views of beautiful, not sure I can pronounce that castle in Germany, on which the famous Disney castle is based. And we won't be playing there, we'll be playing here on CRL West for your Sunday, Week 2, Day 2 action. Yesterday, we definitely had some tight matches, went all the way to the wire multiple times. Today, we have a few teams looking to get their first win, and 2 teams both looking to remain undefeated, but only one will go 4-0. Hello and welcome. I'm Rich Slayton. Joining me, my friend Andrew Guy, for this great day of Clash Royale League West action. Andrew, it's the big one, maybe a preview of a big playoff match. SK Gaming and Tribe, the middle of our 3 matches today.
Yeah, I mean, I would be shocked if either of these teams did not make it all the way to playoffs. But I'm also shocked as we get into our predictions that I'm the only person pulling for SK Gaming. I can't believe it, but I am the only one. So I figured I have to rock a little bit of swag for them as well. But before we get into that insane matchup, because I don't know who to give any set to, it's going to be so back and forth. We do got to talk about a little bit of business. Are you guys watching us on Twitch? You watching us on YouTube? Are you subscribed? Do you have your notifications turned on? Do it. If you guys all do it, I don't have to do this anymore. Literally, if 100% of you do this, I never have to say this again. So turn on those notifications and subscribe. Also, go follow us on Twitter at Esports Royale EN. I'm Andrew Guy. That's Rich Slayton. You guys can follow us at our names. A lot of great polls, a lot of great information up there for you guys to follow along with everything that we do. Lastly, before we get into break time battles, Fantasy Royale. Big day yesterday for a lot of people out there, including my counterpart, Rich, who scored a lot of points. I had a goose egg yesterday, so I'm hoping I can turn that around. I had 7 crowns, but I had 2 goose eggs, so I don't know. 250,000 gold, 100 gems. I need them both. I gotta have it. Get those lineups set every single week before we go live Saturday morning, so right now is a little bit too late. Last up, break time battles, Rich. This is the only way for you to not be on a CRL team and still be featured on the CRL broadcast. You get to play against a pro. Last week, it's the God RF. We will have that video up soon for you guys. This coming week, it's going to be St. Bellican. So go to statsroyale.com. Sign up for break time battles. Win as many as you can. Top 50 get here on the broadcast. Top 5 get a little bit of swag. And number 1 gets to play against a pro in between our breaks. Back to the match at hand, Rich. Are you surprised that no one but me is pulling for SK Gaming?
Well, let's not use the word pulling for. That sounds like I'm rooting against SK Gaming. Obviously, one of my favorites in the league overall. We talked before the broadcast. It's so hard to pick one team or the other in this one. They're so evenly matched. I just think that when you get that 2v2 is such a toss-up, and then you give the slightest edge to the way that Tribe Gaming is playing in the head-to-head play right now. I don't know, man. I could be entirely wrong. SK could totally dominate this one. The reason I went with Tribe more than anything, though, is because I think that SK is a bit more of an emotional team. And that's a wild card. It can make them completely dominant, and it can make them not play to their best of their ability. Whereas I think Tribe Gaming is just cold. They are robots. Those guys are dialed in. So that's the breaking point for me in this pick.
Yeah, and speaking of emotions, we do have 2 teams pulling double headers this weekend. Both of them played pretty well yesterday in Spacestation Gaming and Cream Real Betis. Today they have a little bit more favorable matchups in my mind because both of their squads are going against teams that technically have not won yet because Pain Gaming's penalty there. So let's take a look at the matches we saw yesterday and, of course, the matches that are going to come up today. It was a big day for the home teams yesterday.
Yeah, Team Queso coming out on top due to the great play of Ruben over Cream Real Betis, who we'll see again later today. Spacestation Gaming didn't get the 2v2 done, but was able to get the reverse sweep over Chivas Esports. And then Dignitas, who many people are saying may be a team to watch out for this season after a really solid performance over Liquid, and maybe this is finally the time that the Yellow Owls get it together.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it, right? This season, they seem to have a lot of parts working together. Their rookie is playing really, really well. You know, when you're getting those types of plays out of a guy like Bale, I mean, sorry, I keep calling him a rookie, but it's just because I'm new to him playing this well for this squad. Bale taking down Igor yesterday in a 2-1 in that final set was just, it was really, really impressive the way he did it. You know, Igor, he beats him with Mortar, which is really surprising. He starts off a little bit rough against him in the King of the Hill, so a lot of promise for Dignitas that maybe we haven't seen before here in CRL for the Owls, as you say.
Yeah, and then we get into today's matchups. You mentioned St. Belican will be playing in the break time battles. He's been phenomenal, 5-2 in King of the Hill for Cream Royale Betis, who maybe a bit surprisingly have had one of the top two, one of the only two, undefeated 3-0 in sets 2v2 duos in Michifu and Diego E, which is a big part of why everyone on the caster's desk, except for Bruno, who has to pick Pain because he's doing the Portuguese/Brazilian broadcast. All of us are picking Cream, and I think a big part of that is the 2v2 success.
If Pain Gaming was playing against Bruno's family, he would still pick Pain Gaming. So, yeah, I think we all feel pretty strongly about Cream today. As I said earlier, I'm the only one who actually thinks that SK is going to pull it out. However, I think we all understand that match could go either way, and then Spacestation taking the full sweep all the way across the bottom there. Misfits looking to play upset today, and a big upset that will be. But we'll get there in just a little bit. Let's first talk about the match at hand between our, in our opening set here. You're talking about a great 2v2 in Michifu and in Diego E. Can Sweep and Wallace contest against these guys who have basically gone perfect when you're talking games and have been perfect in regards to sets?
I think there's a difference in experience level here.
Yeah.
They're really that's simply what it comes down to. There's a difference in experience, and right now, Michifu and Diego E, they're 3-0, and they're not a small 3-0. You know what I'm talking about? They are a 3-0 who've done it against good teams. So I just think the 2v2 advantage is so significant here, and I don't think there's a strong enough possibility advantage for Pain when we get into King of the Hill in 1v1. I think this might go 3 sets, but it feels like it's going to go 3 sets towards Cream.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel 3 sets coming in. I'm curious to see if they change up their 1v1 on either side. Let's take a look at the match coming up here in just a moment.
Bueno, Cream viene acá a su segundo partido de este fin de semana. Pain viene un poco dolido, pero con un Lucas increíble. Partidazo que tenemos ahora mismo.
¡Espérate que no lo pesca! ¡No lo pesca!
¡El rayo! ¡No lo picó! ¡Partida!
No puedo creer!
A PEN ganhou uma partida, acabou não tendo ponto por problemas, perdeu 2, precisa ganhar. A Real Betis é um time muito forte e a PEN precisa da vitória. Para isso, eles precisam contar muito com o Lucas em dias inspirados e o 2v2 funcionar.
¡Ganó Lucas!
Pain Gaming really in a tough spot right now, having vacated that win, 0-2 on the season. This is a big opportunity against Cream Royale Betis, who have to do double duty on the weekend. A win here would be huge for the Brazilian team. So opening match of the day, you see Pain Gaming, who have the win but don't have the win, and I think one of the big questions here, Andrew, is will Pain Gaming get the coaching situation under control, which has been a continuous problem for them over the last 2 years?
Yeah, it's something that at this point feels inexcusable, and they have to get it under wraps if they want to even dream about making playoffs. Cream on the other side, Belican, Diego E, Pedro 15, and Michifu, maybe not struggling so much with coaching, but more so struggling in that 1v1 set. Pedro is 1-6 to open his season here in the fall in 2020, and he's got to change something, or they're going to have to make some immediate roster changes, maybe move Belican into that final set.
Yeah, that becomes really challenging because this 2v2 duo, you don't want to break it up, so your only option right now for 1v1 is to move Belly in if you don't stick with Pedro. On the other side, Pain Gaming, a lot of rookie promise, but it does feel like the lack of a veteran to guide the squad might be hurting them so far in the early going, but we'll see if their 2v2 duo of Sweep and Walls can pull things out. Lucas has been the big star so far, and rounding things out, the pride of Portugal, Vitor as one of their head-to-head specialists.
Yeah, it feels like Pain Gaming needs exactly what you're talking about. I'd love to see an Adrian Piedra or a Diego B on a roster like that. Someone who's had so much experience and always stays cool under pressure. Even someone like a Razor. So Diego E and Michifu going to be banning Tornado. They are our home team today. Wallace and Sweep will be banning Fisherman. Fisherman, a card that we haven't seen many bans of because when we first started off this season, we saw a lot more of the 6-man Royal Recruits. Now we have seen Fisherman kind of pop back up in to the meta firmly in both 2v2 and 1v1.
Let's go ahead and jump into the action. Our first game of the day. Pain Gaming's Wallace and Sweep at the top of your screen. Michifu and Diego E at the bottom. And as mentioned, Andrew, Michifu and Diego E, one of 2 current 2v2 duos who are undefeated. The only other one that has not lost a set, Morton and Sam.
Yeah, incredibly impressive from those guys. I don't know if really anyone expected them to be that good in that set, but they have shown us that they can do it against basically anyone.
So Giant Skeleton will fall at the bridge. And the next one does not get down in time to pick up the E-Wiz. So quite a bit of damage on the left-hand side. 2150 to open things up. Good start here for Wallace and Sweep.
Yeah, just kind of a frustrating mental mistake. And once again there, the Musketeer played a tile too high. Not going to focus on the Baby Dragon. Going to turn to the Giant Skeleton. So those Belches come in. So far, Diego E and Michifu just making some small mental mistakes. Nothing they can't come back from, but obviously wish they could get that damage back.
Sweep joins a fairly short list of Canadian players who've made appearances in Clash Royale League West. Top of my head, of course, is the minor master himself, B-Rad, and Firewolf, formerly of TSM. I don't remember if there are any other Canadians who have made it into Clash Royale League off the top of my head, but Sweep does join a small but powerful group.
I'm curious about seeing Firecracker here in 2v2. It's not a card you see a lot of just because of the easy King Tower activation in 2v2 and honestly and in 1v1. But the Firecracker, when you talk about interactions, still is one of my favorite cards in the game. So an interesting choice here by Wallace and Sweep.
Well, you see it behind a Giant Skeleton and you understand that it can sit back there and be so difficult to get to, which is why the Firecracker is frustrating. I find it more interesting in a situation where other cards that traditionally activate King Tower are banned, that you go with that's where, because typically you think that a King Tower is going to get activated in 2v2 at some point, and now this seems like you're putting that back on the board, to reiterate your point.
Yeah, and to kind of like just elaborate on what you're saying, because of the ban on Tornado and Fisherman, the 2 easiest cards to activate King Tower, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, man. It seems kind of an odd card to throw in the mix, but I guess in their mind, they don't care because they're just going for RG pushes, so they don't really mind if that King Tower does get activated.
Well, you put that in, and you also think about the likelihood of a Firecracker actually wandering all the way across the bridge, right? At this point, we've seen it so far. The Firecracker has barely made it within 3 tiles of those bridges, as opposed to actually getting on tower or getting to the other side. So it seems like with how congested 2v2 is, maybe the Firecracker's danger of activating might be significantly lower than it is in 1v1.
And I love seeing the excitement here of these young guys. Sweep was so hyped about that snowball pushing the Musketeer into the Giant Skeleton Bomb on the other side of the map. A really, really nice interaction, but honestly, I was just more excited to see how happy he was about the 2 of them being on the same page.
Sweep is certainly one of the more effusive players overall in CRL. There are some guys who could pull off the biggest win in the biggest moment and they would barely crack a smile. Reminder back to TNT when he won in with OG and Entis in CRL Asia. He just sat there looking like someone had asked him to do his homework.
Yeah, I know, and that's why he's so good, right? These players that aren't affected by emotion, they can do so much. Lumberjack threw on the left-hand side, just going to town on that tower. No one there to take a look or help out.
Yeah, a little low on elixirs, so Diego E and Michifu choosing to go for a bit of min-max, a term we haven't used as much in the last couple of weeks, but still important in this situation, and it really does feel like we are reaching the end. I don't know how they're going to deal with this Royal Giant bomb tower down, trying to hold on, but this RG should escape and get at least 1 shot on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should have held the snowball, held the log. I think if they would have used all of their spells and defense perfectly in conjunction and sequence there, they would have been able to maybe stop that hit and steal the game. It felt like Sweep and Wallace had kind of an easy path to victory in that one, just based off of, I don't want to say careless plays by Michi and Diego, but more so just, I don't feel like they were as aggressive as they needed to be on defense or offense.
Yeah, that's one of those interesting parts, right? Where you have the 5 elixir for the Royal Hogs, you go in the opposite lane with it, but you have a healthy Royal Giant who's going to finish the tower on the opposite side. So where do you actually put that expenditure? And right here, you can see down to 442, and that Earthquake puts it in RG range. You don't have much here to deal with it, and you see them going Hogs again, trying to win a foot race against the Royal Giant with the Firecracker on the board.
Yeah, and then look at that. Log on the left-hand side goes towards the weaker tower, so they try to get a little bit of chip damage with the Log. That is a horrible decision in that moment. If you have Snowball and you have Log, and there's still your Musketeer firing on that Royal Giant, Snowball first, slow it down, log it back, get more damage on that left-hand side. That's one of those moments where we've talked about you're kind of going for the kill when your opponent is in a better position than you are. So you're just sacrificing the win. And I understand it in that moment, but it just seems like a huge mental mistake.
Yeah, very comfortable play out of Pain Gaming. Stephen Wallace looking good here in game number 1. And look, this is I've said this before, and it kind of became a broken record here. I think that Pain has a chance to win a lot of King of the Hills. And the more of those 2v2s you can stack up, the better chance Pain has of clawing their way into the top 6.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that this is their 2v2 duo, in this season as opposed to last, it is really a lot more forgiving for these guys to figure out a rhythm together, bounce back, and they can still come back and have a positive season in that 2v2 set, even if they lose the next 2 matches in 2v2, or I guess the next one in 2v2. That's a pretty good spot to be in. Whereas last season, if you've lost 2 in a row, it felt like you were basically like, oh man, what do we do with our 2v2? Do we just ride it out to the end of the season? We're not winning anything. So I like what I saw out of Pain Gaming, and I like that they did it against Diego E and Michi.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big one. And Diego and Michi, if you're talking earlier about some of their matchups, and it's sort of been interesting so far to see who they've gone up against, because they beat Razor and Canario in the opening match of the season, which looked at first to be a massive, massive win. Right. And now with the sort of failures of Team Liquid in the 2v2 set, it's looking a little bit less impressive. The win over Flash and Codigo as well. That's a team that, we're still not quite sure where they fit in 2v2. They were good yesterday. And then Benny and Kuchu, who've obviously been kind of a 2v2 problem for Team Queso. So this is an interesting test right now for Michi and Diego.
Yeah, I'm curious if that last game was maybe just them playing a little bit out of sorts. Because like I said, they just felt a little off tempo, a little off rhythm. We saw a couple double drops there, something they don't do. We saw a couple missed pickups, another thing that they don't do with that E-Wiz and the Baby Dragon early on. Those really small mistakes end up adding up quite a bit. 2 or 3 Baby Dragon belches, that's a good amount of damage that you might want in those final moments. So let's see if Diego E and Michi can bounce back here in game number 2.
So far, Pain has faced Space Station, Misfits, and SK, and Pain Gaming's 2v2 duo lost 2 of those, but that was to RF and Lapo, and then to Morton and Sam. So no shame there. Yeah. They did get the win over Bob and Shorzen, but that was, of course, in the match that they ended up vacating the win. So this 2v2 duo, it's kind of hard to pass judgment on them yet at this stage in the season.
Yeah, that was such a tough day because, since then, Lucas was 4-0 that day, or I guess 4-1, and then since then he just hasn't really been able to get out there much.
Musketeer going to the right-hand side. Log takes care of business, and this Dark Prince going to get splash damage on the tower. Maybe a little bit of an off placement timing-wise of the Musketeer on the left-hand side for Cream Real Betis.
That's the 3rd time that's happened in the first minute of the game in regards to Game 1 and Game 2. I just don't think that's what they want to be doing here.
Lumberjack, Skeleton Dragons to the right-hand side. Balloon on top. So the Yard one with the Balloon Graveyard combination. Fireball high. Trying to deal with this balloon push, but the raged up balloon looks like it will connect, and that is a huge connection for Pain Gaming.
A double connection, a great heal spirit to give that balloon a little bit extra life. Poor defense by their opponents gives Sweep and Wallace a commanding lead, and now on offense, go Cream.
And that's a nice push here. Lumberjack gonna rage up that balloon. This should be tower down on the left-hand side with the freeze in. Man, this deck has become so popular in these last couple of weeks.
I mean, if you can put something together well in single elixir, it becomes almost impossible to defend. And then on the other side of that, you spend so much on that offensive commitment, you have nothing in return on defense. We've seen that happen a couple times.
Feels like we will most likely be going to a 2-tower situation. 1 minute left to work on the right-hand side. The big question for Pain Gaming is, will they get a connection on the right-hand side, or will they be forced to try to spell cycle it down? We'll see here with 42 seconds left.
And I think a lot of what's going to tell that story is what happens on the left side of the map. I could be wrong here, but and it does seem like Wallace and Sweep are just going to completely sacrifice any sort of pressure over there. I do think that's a mistake. They allow so much focus from their opponents elixir-wise defensively.
And you see the spell cycle starting to come in on the right-hand side. Need to get back around to that fireball unless, I believe, Pain and Wallace are playing a freeze on the right-hand lane. Oh, and there you go. The tower does go down. So Lumberjack sneaks on through and saves the need to use Fireball for Pain.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It saves the need, the necessity to spend elixir, naked elixir, on taking a tower down. And that 4 elixir swing, even in double, is still going to give you quite an advantage. And it would have at least been able to give Diego E and Michi a chance to go back on the offensive. I really don't like that they sacrificed that tower.
An aggressive pocket push here from Pain Gaming.
Yeah.
Giant Skeleton, Lumberjack, Graveyard, Balloon. The freeze should be coming in sometime soon here, and it does.
What a beautifully constructed offensive strike.
Giant Skeleton on the tower, Andrew. Giant Skeleton on the tower. Musketeer on the bottom. This is a base race now.
I mean, that Giant Skeleton should go off now, and that should do it. That's going to be, where's 27 HP?
Wow. Will it get in? And that's going to be it. No way to beat that out. 3 crown down. I hope you picked Michifu this weekend, folks, because he is stacking them up in fantasy.
I sure did, and I am so happy to see that 3 crown come in. Sweep and Wallace maybe doing what their opponents did in game number 1, getting a little bit too excited, too many eyes on the prize, not enough on home base. And when you realize that there's a Giant Skeleton just living in your castle, not what you want to see.
Michifu currently at 6 crowns on the weekend after that 3 crown finish with Diego E. And they just had the better rhythm there and letting that Giant Skeleton get to tower. You know, maybe Wallace and Sweep putting their, as you said, maybe getting a little horse to the barn syndrome, trying to put the pressure on too much.
I mean, I think they had too many moments there where it just felt like they were in more control than they actually were. And I think that initial tower damage was huge, but, you know, Michi and Diego E responded adequately. And then that Lumberjack sneaking through to get the tower down before we went into overtime was another moment where Sweep and Wallace were probably like, you know what, man, we've just got this in the bag today. However, Diego and Michi figuring out a way to get that push in on the left-hand side was incredible.
Here we go, taking a look at that big chunk of damage. First comes in 479 to the right-hand side, an immediate response. Heal Spirit, Lumberjack, Zap, and then just to make sure it hits the freeze, and they might not have even needed the freeze in that situation.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually needed to use it then. I think they probably could have either not used it and taken the tower later on, or they still would have taken the tower. So here we go. We're going to take a quick look here at the end. Look at this Giant Skeleton on the left-hand side. Sweep and Wallace are so distracted by what's going on here on the bottom right. They don't even pay attention. I mean, they are completely uncontested walking down the lane on the left hand. That is a massive mistake because they thought they were going to take the tower.
Yeah, the freeze came in, but nice defense from CRL Betis to keep that left-hand Princess Tower from falling. Turns in to a big reversal 3 crown win for Diego E and Michifu. And now we go to a game number 3, and you got to wonder if maybe Pain Gaming's Wallace and Sweep are a little bit concerned after playing what I would say was a fairly bit of a rookie game there in the second half of that.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's the correct verbiage. I think that was a very rookie game. It's tough because they did so many things right, but those rookie mistakes were so apparent. When you see that Giant Skeleton Musketeer walk down the lane in the replay, it felt more forgiving in the moment because there was so much going on. But that's why we're up here and they're over there playing the game. When you're playing the game at that high of a level, you can't have that much elixir walk down the left-hand side of the map completely uncontested because you hope to win. You hope to take that tower. Hope's not going to do it. Do exactly what Diego and Michi did. Play defense and then try to win.
And they played defense so comfortably in that situation, too. And that's a really interesting thing. Let's go ahead and jump in to our third and final game. They played defense in the face of situations where it looked like either one of those towers could easily fall. But they measured well. Oh, and a missed fireball, a brutally missed fireball, and maybe a miscommunication here. Goblin Cage pulls, and that's what it was. Goblin Cage and Fireball both played on defense to do completely different things. Wallace and Sweep not on the same page.
Yeah, and you know, you see nothing really happened yet, but Diego and Michi are doing the correct thing by taking advantage of their elixir and figuring out how they can put the pressure on by slow playing from the back.
Yeah, that was just, again, one of those things that maybe is, I don't know what their comms situation is, if they both dragged and both made the decision at the same time, but what an interesting example of how important communication and good teamwork is when it comes to 2v2 success.
Yeah, because they both had a great response, right? But then when you play both of them, they all of a sudden become much worse.
Oh, they completely negated each other, and now down not only in elixir, but also in damage as we get closer to the midway point of our opening three.
Down by about 4 elixir, so this is the correct thing. Diego and Michi continuing to go on offense, giving a lot of spell value there, but still, that miner in on the backside doesn't really matter. I mean, it makes it so that fireball doesn't matter as much, taking out the heal spirit.
7:19 remains on the right-hand side. Musketeer unsupported, going down from Pain Gaming, and Giant Skeleton easily takes care of business.
Yeah, and you know, when we were talking kind of about that last game recap, it really did feel that another factor that we that we hadn't mentioned yet was just that loss for Sweep and Wallace, and conversely the win for Diego and Michi, I feel like gives Cream such an advantage going into this third game. Because like you said, they were defending so comfortably for so long. And that really builds confidence in a team.
And now you see setting up to the left-hand lane with the Giant Skeleton. Diego Yamichifu have a lot of damage on that right-hand side, and they do have an Earthquake, which is best bang for your buck as far as tower damage. So we'll see what kind of pressure they put in the left, and when they start to put the damage, the final killing blow on the right-hand side. Miner to protect the Musketeer. Very nice work here from Michifu.
Yeah, Diego and Michifu were playing this pretty much perfectly, because it almost felt like for a minute there they cared more about the left tower than the right. And they focused a lot of pressure over there, which, again, leaves it so we see this right-hand tower at 191 HP, because you have to keep up the dual lane pressure, even though you know you're going to take the right-hand tower.
Lumberjack and Balloon in on the left. Balloon all raged up, not going to get anywhere near that left-hand tower. Graveyard push in for Pain Gaming. You got to imagine that the spells will come in a little bit after we get past this Graveyard defense, and there you go! Diego E and Michifu come from behind, reverse sweep, and put up a very, very nice, experienced veteran performance against the rookies.
Yeah, the woes continue. The rookie woes continue here for Wallace and Sweep. So far, you know, they've played only strongly against Schwarzen and Bob the Rock, like you said at the top of the match. They started off so great today, and that's why it hurts so much for Pain and their fans to lose this 2v2 set, because I feel like now there's almost a, 90% chance that Cream walks away winning this match just because of that 2v2. If Sweep and Wallace end up taking that second game the way that they probably should have, I feel like this tells a much different story as we go into these King of the Hill and 1v1 sets.
Yeah, it certainly opens up a possibility where you have a really talented head-to-head lineup between Lucas and Vitor and whoever you pick in as the third player for King of the Hill. But now they have to battle from behind, and the pressure is put heavily on most likely Lucas, who will be the 1v1 player. Possibly could be Vitor mixed in, but it feels like it will be Lucas. So once again, the pressure mounting for Pain Gaming. Cream Royale Betis feeling comfortable. I don't think they have any concerns going into this King of the Hill.
Yeah, and you know, we don't have a lot of history to pull from these four guys on Pain playing together, but if we just look at this season solely, we will see that the one match they won was when Sweep and Wallace won that 2v2 set, giving them a cushion moving into the King of the Hill, so that even though they lose the King of the Hill in 5, Lucas still has enough confidence to come into that 1v1 set and take it home. So let's take a look here at some of these moments from that last game at number 3, and I think the biggest word that you use, Rich, that I can't kind of get out of my mind is just the veteran play by Diego and Michi.
Yeah, they didn't make mistakes. Wallace and Sweep did make mistakes, and it comes down to that in the end. Very, very important. 2v2. You make one mistake that costs you 4 extra elixir, You're 4 elixir down in a situation where for that first 2 minutes in particular, it flows so slowly, and they were never able to recover.
Yeah, and when you're going up against a deck like Royal Hogs that can put up so much pressure in both lanes, it's not like playing against a Lava Hound deck or something, or like a Golem deck where it's all just going to keep coming down the one side. You can see it kind of coming, you can prepare adequately, but in this situation, there's just no way, because the second you commit elixir to one lane, they're going to pressure the other. And when you're down elixir in single elixir in a 2v2 set, like you said, there's no way to come back from it.
When you talk about that 4 elixir spent, and then we get to that next big chunk of offense on the right-hand side, the Royal Hogs Heal Spirit, you mentioned the fireball value they gave, but the minor tanking let those pigs still get a ton of damage, and there was no response available for Pain Gaming because the cascading effect of that opening mistake. So Pain Gaming loses the 2v2, and now we go into King of the Hill. Andrew, I have to expect that for Cream Royale Betis, it's going to be Michifu, Belican, and X-Pedro.
Yeah, I can't imagine seeing anything else in there. I think the only question mark is whether or not Belican will play in that 1v1 set, if they even need to. Otherwise, yeah, I agree. That's definitely what Cream's going to come out with today. Why switch it up? It seems to be working pretty well. Pain Gaming on the other side, I bet we'll probably see what we saw last time, which was Sweep Wallace and Lucas. Oh, no, Vitor's going to come back in that opening spot. So we haven't seen Vitor since match 2. He's opened King of the Hill twice now, and he's gone 0-2. So now trying to redeem himself, and we see a bit of a change here with Pedro opening up for Cream. Rich, what exactly do you think what's the idea behind moving him up in the lineup?
Just give him a low-pressure game and get him a win. I think it's just sort of break him out of this funk, maybe give him a chance to get 2 wins right out the gate, and get Pedro in some rhythm. Now, what this does feel like is the possibility that it might be Belly in the 1v1 rather than Pedro if we do end up getting
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point that you make on both sides of it. I think that Pedro needs to get out of this funk, whatever it is, but it's definitely a funk. And then, yeah, Belican should move into the 1v1 set in this match, just to give Pedro a little bit of a break, just a mental break. Maybe he picks up a couple wins here in King of the Hill, and he feels better for the next match.
He's been really good in CRL over his career. Despite starting 1-6, he still has a career win rate of 52%. You look at his previous seasons, went even 50-50 overall in the Latin American season, went 55% for the head-to-head play, was phenomenal with kicks, putting up a 65% win rate, and was good in the spring. But this fall season just hasn't got the rhythm down yet.
Yeah, and I think that's what the most frustrating thing is for him, for Cream, and for all of his fans, is we all know how good Pedro is, but it's just not happening right now.
So Vitor slow playing what looks like it's going to be a graveyard deck. Poison on the Musketeer, and goes for a bit of protection here, does keep the Muskie alive, and she will have enough HP, I believe, for 1 shot. No, does not. I was fooled there. I thought that was just enough of a sliver.
Yeah, he commits maybe just a little bit too much elixir there, so that's why he's down a hair. But that's you know, got to prevent that damage. Don't want that musky shot coming in, especially if you are playing against the win condition we believe it is.
Skeleton Dragon set up for Pedro behind the Knight, and looks like we're probably having a mirror match here.
Yeah, and I like that. Instead of pulling the trigger on the graveyard, seeing his opponent kind of drop all of his defensive units down, he goes in for the poison. Pedro gets a lot of great value there over Vitor.
Yeah, so far both of them playing the poison game primarily. We'll see who is the first one to pull the trigger. It might be a while before it happens. Knight comes down in front of the Musketeer, Goblin Cage in response.
Yeah, it's going to really be about the bridge battles like we saw yesterday, and then if you lose a bridge battle, not overcommitting. So right here, it looks like Pedro's going to lose this bridge battle, and now he's going to go on the defense. So he's going to have a poison, there's the poison, and now he should be able to drop something up high to get all this cleaned up. That's exactly what you need to do in these mirror matchup situations, because if you go and continue to fight that bridge battle when you're already behind or already going to lose it, you automatically forfeit the game.
Knight gets in front of this Musketeer. Now it's Pedro's chance to go on a little bit of offense, but the push gets stopped. Absolutely no support for this graveyard, and now a lot of poison value on the board. Pedro does choose to go ahead and take care of those Musketeers.
Yeah, Vitor there, impressive that he's able to get 2 Musketeers down to defend, but unfortunately for him, it's just giving way too much value to Pedro.
Goblin Cage holding on for Vitor. We are in sudden death overtime, and much more even than it felt like it was going to be with the early damage from the Portuguese player against his Venezuelan counterpart, 1899, but this poison now continuing to create a bit of an advantage for Vitor.
Yeah, a lot of poison value coming in. These bridge battles have been so interesting because there's only been a couple where they've actually decided to pull the trigger on the graveyard, and here we go, one more coming in for Vitor.
The pressure continues to mount on the left-hand side. Pedro has not been able to mount much offense in the last 90 seconds or so. We'll see if this is when he can. Does have 5 elixir and chooses to go with a late graveyard.
That's bad. That's a bad choice right there, my friend. I think that's the game. I'll be honest, I think that's the game right there. It just feels like too desperate of a pull on the graveyard. His opponent has too much on the board, and here we go.
Knight tanking for a moment. Skeleton Dragons do get across, and another Knight here to tank on Pedro's side, but the gap continues to grow. Now going to be under 700 HP. No, 712, and this could be the last gas for Pedro.
Really nice Knight there because Pedro doubles down at the bridge with those Skeleton Dragons, recognizing the Knight was going to squeeze on through, but still not going to be enough. More poison value going to come in here if he gets back around to it. There it is.
And this could even be tower. The Skeleton's starting to stack up a little bit. 14 seconds left, and Vitor is not taking his foot off the gas. Pedro sees the writing on the wall, doesn't play the defense there, and Vitor takes game number 1 for Pain Gaming.
The woes continue here in the head-to-head for ex-Pedro 15. Now 1-7, dropping a game here to the rookie in a mirror matchup. You know, it felt like he was on the same page with Vitor for a very long time. You know, those bridge battles, winning them, losing them, going on defense, getting a graveyard in, it was fine. But then all of a sudden, Vitor was able to just get so much poison value so regularly because he was winning the bridge battles, right? If you win the bridge battles, you don't have to save the poison for defense. You can start to use it more aggressively. And Vitor did that time after time after time. And it was all because of the way he protected his musketeer at the river.
And that's got to feel good for Vitor getting his first Clash Royale League win here in week 4. So congratulations, young man. 1-2 so far in his CRL career.
Yeah, good. Way to go, man. Way to go. And doing it against someone like Pedro, even if he has been struggling, it's still a big name out there. So confidence building here for the young man, and that's exactly what this team needs. You can see right here, it's just kind of an example of what I'm talking about. There's so much poison value every single push, whether it's on the Musketeer, whether it's on the Skeleton Dragons, even if it's on a Barbarian and Heal Spirit, it was just something that Vitor kept doing again and again and again. And when you get caught in that cycle like Pedro was, sometimes it's just impossible to get out because you're playing a mirror matchup and your opponent knows all of your responses.
We'll see what Belican does when he comes out for his game coming up next year, Andrew. But after seeing that, if you're the coach of Cream Royale Betis, is there any way you're sending Pedro out for the 1v1 set if we get there?
No, I mean, I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, we get the 2v2 lineups beforehand. Otherwise, everything else is decided as the match is going. That 1v1, since it doesn't have to be declared, there's no way I put Pedro in that set. Not even going into the day, and especially after that King of the Hill performance.
So here we go, game number 2, Vitor with the opening win. St. Belican coming up next, or just Belican now. I'm missing those Saint days, buddy. 5-2 so far in the second stage.
I know, are Belican and Samuel mad at us because we won't call them by their new names? Like, I still want to call him Samuel Basoto because I just like saying it, and then St. Belican is just, I mean, look at him.
So Mortar Skeleton Barrel here for Vitor, and a high Mortar right into the bomb tower.
Mortar gonna take that out. And we'll maybe get 2 shots, but should just get the 1. There we go.
Baby Dragon trying to fight its way forward, and now you see the Skeleton Barrel with a lot of pressure. Barb Barrel gives value, and Belican misses the King Tower activation. forced to spend the extra knight.
Yeah, and that's tough. You know, this deck can really, really pour on the pressure. The one thing that Belican has is he has so much splash damage and so many responses to these bait cards that it's a little bit more forgiving when you make a mistake like that. I still feel like he has matchup in this, and maybe some of the Mortar players out there will tell me how wrong I am. I just don't love this matchup when I play this deck.
Bar Barrel goes on through, does get to the Mortar, and now a semi-healthy Musketeer will force a response out of Belican.
And the reason I say that is just because, again, there's so much splash damage, and even though this deck is heavier, it's very hard to just win the game before you get to overtime. Double and triple elixir really favors Belican.
It does get challenging from Vitor's standpoint. I mean, again, single elixir is a good chance for the Pain Gaming player, but that's when you can defend, and another missed NATO from Belican.
I mean, now it does. It doesn't even matter, right? Like, you do that twice in a row, 2 pulls in a row. You're below 1,000 HP. I mean, at this point, if you win the match, it's almost a crime.
Well, below on HP and way behind on elixir because you're forced to overspend to make up for the mistake. So, kind of shocking. Same mistake twice out of Belican.
Yeah, a very, very... And the thing is it didn't even look like he changed the placement and all. So now he goes, you know what? I'm going to use the Tornado over here. But unfortunately for him, that Musketeer is still very healthy.
Musketeer does not get on tower, and Belican does need to find some way to control the Mortar. Doesn't do it. Mortar gets on tower now, and down to 486, 414. Getting into danger territory right now is Belly with the pressure still on.
I mean, this is essentially unwinnable, which is... Now it's tough, because you just asked me after the performance by Pedro, do you put Belican in? I think you give Belican a pass on those 2 tornadoes, but man, Cream's got to be feeling a little bit of pressure after these guys' performance.
Bomb tower down to take care of the Mortar high, and here's where things get interesting. If Belican... Nah, not with that log now.
Log fireball, it's game over.
Oh boy. As you get later into it, you can see the swing would go towards that Graveyard deck because of the ability to drop Graveyard, Poison, and Triple, but with those kind of mistakes early, no way to recover.
I wish I could hear what Belican's saying right now, because you can see the frustration on his face, and I'm sure he's just telling his team, I don't know what happened. I don't know how I didn't pull either of those skeleton barrels to the center, and what it was is he just played the center of that tornado too far to the left. That you know, the new upgraded tornado, if you will, it's got such a strong pulling capability. You really got to center that so it gets to the middle of your side, and those skeletons all walk to your king tower. And to see Belican do that 2 times in a row is just devastating for any sort of confidence you're going to have for the rest of that match.
And you see the 242, and now already the writing's on the wall. Log Fireball will finish it off. And it's one of those things where Belican gets the first one correct, and we're talking about a whole different game because you also don't get the second one spent. So you don't throw away another 3 elixir or another 6 elixir in a certain way on top of that. Costly mistakes in both of the first 2 games of King of the Hill for Cream Royale.
Yeah, and I'm 99% sure the card that would make up for his tornado mistake both times was his Knight. That Knight is going to be your best answer to kite that Mortar away, to go either opposite lane or just to distract the Mortar shots while you're getting more DPS on the actual Mortar.
Much as players in the Spanish-speaking community, or German-speaking community, or English-speaking community. So Vitor is very good, has been very good for a long time. Made top 8 at the No Tilt World Championship. No surprises here from my perspective that he played that Soaks week 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had him last week as well, and he got me a lot of crowns. So Michifu, I mean, he's just playing exactly the way you'd expect him to, and I love that he's kind of flying under the radar because I think it helps him stay more focused. I felt like maybe before, when there was maybe a little bit more weight on his shoulders, it got to him mentally.
Talking about some of Vitor's accolades, and again, talking about how and he does not get the King Tower activation for Michifu. Fireball does clean up on the back end, but still will be a bit more damage. So attempted King Tower activations proving to go the wrong way for Cream Royale Betis now in back-to-back matches.
Very, very difficult for them for some reason. I mean, you can't play the Spear Goblins any closer to that King Tower, but the interaction there with the Mega Knight was just off. Maybe they need to be played 1 tile offset to the right as opposed to where they were. That being said, Vitor has a great way to keep up a lot of pressure. He's got a way to get to that bomb tower placed in the center of the map. and he's got a really nice counter to wall breakers coming in with that Mega Knight to create a massive push.
Back to talking about Vitor's experience level, despite being a rookie in Clash Royale League. Certainly has some big moments to his name. 3-time #1 in the global tournament. Won the Moreno Cup 5, and of course made the top 8 for the No Tilt World Championship, but also a very experienced team player as well. And this should be the correct King Tower activation. There you go for me.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about there. It was just one tile, I believe, to the left before. But still really, really nice interactions here by Vitor. You saw that High Fisherman playing behind his King Tower, pulled the pulled the Miner away, and was still able to walk down the lane towards his Mega Knight.
Here we go into double elixir time. Not that much separating, just under 300 HP between Michifu's bottom left-hand tower and Vitor's top right-hand tower. A Spain versus Portugal matchup, if you will.
There are so many quick responses to wall breakers in this deck, whether it's the Heal Spirit, whether it's the Skeleton Dragons, you got the Fisherman there, the Barrel. There's just so much there. I'll be incredibly impressed if Michifu wins this game.
Well, controlling these Mega Knights while saving other defensive tools like this bomb tower here is going to be absolutely key, and that defense put very, very well together. And now the Miner puts some pressure on, so you do not have a good way to stop the wall breakers for a good value. So he has to spend 4 for
And
Vitor.
this is a great moment for Michifu. Now his opponent is down in Elixir. He's going to start a push from the back. He's got to continue doing this, which is why Vitor cycles his Mega Knight towards his weaker tower now, recognizing being behind in a little bit of Elixir. He cannot sacrifice the damage coming in here, but what he can do is eat damage on the left-hand side. So he's got to, once again, commit to this healthier tower.
A lot of pressure coming in on the right-hand side. Knight goes to pull the Mega Knight in. Musketeer in the back, and again, the control here from Michifu has been good, but the Musketeer does escape on the right-hand tower.
Musketeer escapes on the right, gets good tower damage in. Back on the offensive goes Michifu, and a nice bar barrel there plus Musketeer to clean up.
Final minute 15. Michifu does have the lead in this one. It's a precarious lead, though. Dual lane pressure from the Portuguese player, and again, just having to sit back and play responsive and then get as much Miner chip as he possibly can. Good variation on Miner placements so far from this game.
Yeah, very, very nice Miner placement changing here, and then of course, gotta go back on offense. Vitor, he's got to change something up here. He just doesn't know what to do. The Mega Knight's going to come down the right-hand lane. He's going to try to get the Skeleton Dragons up high and then hogs the left. See, I knew exactly what was going to happen in sequence, and that's why Michifu's been able to defend it. But is he going to get overwhelmed here with the Elixir flowing?
That big fireball on the right-hand side opened up an opportunity. Michi is playing a gem on defense, and Vitor, though, knowing he has a chance to put some significant pressure on, goes with the Mega Knight, Musketeer at the bridge, trying to break through, and the Miner not able to be used on offense. This is absolutely huge. Big opening for Vitor.
Yeah, really, really nice high Miner there to prevent a little bit more damage and stuff breaking through on the right-hand side, so those Hog Riders, or those Royal Hogs, actually have to still focus on the bomb tower. Michifu played this to perfection.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous performance out of Michifu, and that's what you expect. That's what Cream expects. And now that puts, I believe, is that 7 crowns on the day, or is that, no, that's 8 crowns on the weekend now for Michifu. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, that 3 crown in that game too was just quite a little cherry on top. I don't know how, because I don't play that deck enough that Vitor is playing to actually figure out if there's a different way to break, or to actually break through Michifu's deck. But I will tell you that if I can say exactly what's going to happen in sequence as it's happening, Michifu's going to beat you. Because if I can break it down, what you're going to do, Mega Knight to the right, Musketeer behind, Skeleton Dragons in the middle, Hogs to the left, it's never going to work. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and Michifu saw that that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to die on that hill. I mean, we're looking at it right now. Skeleton Dragons in the middle on top of a bomb tower, Musketeer to the right. It's just not going to work.
Well, there were two issues here, and the big one was that Vitor was never able to force, until this moment here, force the miner to be on defense. And so this one, the miner had to come out to deal with the Mega Knight. That hadn't been happening before. So the Mega Knight was able to be dealt with easily by the Knight itself, leaving the miner to put offense on. And the one big push, the one big moment was when the miner came in, got pulled inside by the Fisherman, and the Fireball had to come out for Vitor on defense. If he found a way to make that miner unable to play offense, that would have been a huge difference for the Portuguese player.
And you know, the other thing that Vitor left on the field a lot was great fireball value in the center of his opponent's map. There was definitely times there where he could hit a Musketeer tower or at least just the bomb tower and Spear Goblin, something like that. Even if towards the end, when you're in double and triple, if you're just hitting the bomb tower so your Royal Hogs can actually break through, I feel like you at least try it once. Yes, you're overspending. Yes, you're kind of selling out, but you were getting nothing on offense, and you saw that lead just slowly go like this in the opposite direction. And that's one of the worst feelings when you get caught in something like that.
Here we go. Game number 4. Michifu got one big win in King of the Hill. With that one, evens up his head-to-head record at 2-2, fighting at a 67% clip this season over all 3 sets.
Numbers don't lie. Michifu has got it going on right now. Uh-oh.
Wallace. Yeah, this is interesting. Nope, going hog. Okay. You see that for a second, you're like, oh boy, Michi's about to lock you down.
You just get kind of excited. You really do, because, you know, when you watch the greats play with their deck, it's something special.
Well, it's been a big part of his success, both on ladder and, of course, in the global tournaments as well. Top-tier Expo player. This time, though, Michi looking like he's going hog triple spell.
Yeah, and apparently he also will play it in 2v2 every now and then, so I'm into it.
Yeah. Bananas. Absolutely bananas. And 3 Musketeers for Wallace. Fascinating choice. Now, you're going to see Michifu do the same thing here against this 3 Musketeers a lot. He's going to triple spell that double Musketeer. He can get a lot of value on tower. Snowball, Earthquake, and Log will take care of those 2. He'll use the Bomb Tower, Skeletons, and Knight on the opposite side.
That's exactly what he's going to do every single time. Why not? It's a great way to get tower damage in. It's effective. It's cheap. It helps your cycle get back around. You've got your offensive card always in hand. Really, really nice matchup here so far for Michi.
Yeah, he might not even need to triple spell those 2 Musketeers if he can find a way to control them without having to use the 3rd, but I think we'll see it happen at least one time. Man, this is going to be really compelling to see how much Wallace can stay in the game as we get closer to triple, but with 11:54 remaining on the right-hand side, it looks like Michi is very likely to get win number 2 here.
Yeah, I agree, and Michifu doing the right thing, I think, in this moment is to continue triple spelling, at least until Vitor or Wallace changes something up. That's the one thing I want to see, is if he's going to change anything up, or if he's just going to allow Michi to triple spell every time and he just goes opposite sides with his Musketeers. So,
well, it's a lot of tower damage and it's a -1 trade. It seems like he's, in this case, you see he's only going double spell, going to handle those Musketeers in a different way.
Yeah, and you know, the one thing that we already saw different from Wallace this time around was that he cycled the Heal Spirit to the right-hand side with the single Musketeer as opposed to the double.
And you see that Michi was actually happy to take the single shot. So he's going to just go ahead and use Earthquake Log on those ones and take the single shot if he has to, because he knows he can sacrifice a bit of HP with the lead he has right now and not make any big mistakes.
Yeah, so then it becomes a story about Wallace. Where is he going to commit? And he keeps going to the right-hand side. Michifu's down for that. Snowball to the left, Musketeer to the right. Good Fireball.
Yeah, Fireball does get both the Musketeer and Skeletons off the board, so now maybe a bit of a swing here. Michifu falling behind on Elixir, and that's the one thing about that triple spell response, is it does put you behind 1 every single time.
Yeah, so here we go. Higher Musketeers played by Wallace this time around, and still going to get that spell damage in. Going to ignore the Musketeer on the left. Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot from that Muskie on the left, though, down to 1267. Michifu with the lead with about 90 seconds left, but that lead beginning to go away in favor of Wallace's pressure.
Yeah, Wallace is getting good pressure up. He's got a good Elixir's position to be in, and how's he going to support these 2 on the left?
Might just Skeleton here. No, goes ahead and snowballs. So, again, the -1 trade, the Elixir advantage continuing, but Michifu just wanting to prevent that damage. but you see the high 3M here from Wallace doing what he can to make sure that there is no spell value on that right-hand
And
tower.
that one Musketeer on the right-hand side staying alive as long as it did kind of messes up the whole thing that Wallace was putting together with such little time left. He's going to have to work doubly hard now to get that damage in.
Hog Rider into the right-hand side. The Earthquake doing a little bit extra damage. Hog does not get a shot here, but Wallace now struggling to hold on against this spell cycle on the right-hand lane.
Yeah, he is so close to just being cycled out. There's the Snowball. There's the Earthquake. Log should be coming in next, and Michifu knows his math. No, he does not. 86 damage. Can he get back around?
Boy.
There it is.
Triple Elixir is so huge for this deck. You see all the pigs on the left-hand side, but they're not going to do anything when you can put the amount of spell damage that this deck can do with that triple elixir
I mean,
flow.
you can legitimately just cycle those 3 spells over and over and over as long as you're able to get that one other card out defensively that is actually making a difference in between. And that's what Michifu was doing. You saw that at the end, like you said, Rich. There's a whole mountain of units on both of his sides, or his left-hand tower mainly, but it doesn't matter at that point. Well played by Michi. 2 down and 2 up.
Wallace taking the loss here in King of the Hill, and Michifu adding another win to his record now in the positive when it comes to his head-to-head play.
Very, very nice day for this young man. He performs well in 2v2, comes out and is really helping his team try to close this out in 2 sets, which is what they'll need after a performance yesterday against Liquid, which they wish they could get back.
And you see here with 686. Yeah, with 686 remaining, and look at all the defense that he has to throw to play against that Hog Rider. But what that really is just more value for the spells. The Hog Rider wasn't even intended to get on tower. He knew it wouldn't happen. But I am going to put an Earthquake and a Log on 3 defensive units and your tower and get a ton of good value. So a good matchup overall for Michifu. Very well played by him as well.
Yeah, in that Hog Rider, like you said, if he doesn't defend it, tower goes down. Easy for Michifu, but you know he's going to defend it. You know he's going to pour units onto it, give even more spell value. Really, really great decision-making there by Michi. And now it comes down to Lucas once again. Michifu, Lucas. Can Lucas bring it home for Pain Gaming? If anyone can do it, it's him, right?
Lucas is the guy. He is the guy for Pain. I think that this is one of the more even matchups we're going to see in a Game 5 King of the Hill. Both these guys are top tier, and I'm really excited to see how we decide this one. Will it be Michifu getting the full-on reverse sweep and huge clutching for Cream Royale Betis, or can Lucas extend the life of Pain Gaming and force Cream into a really tough situation in the 1v1?
Yeah. Absolutely, and you know Lucas will be playing most likely in that 1v1 as well, so big moment here for this young man.
Yeah, remember, Michifu can't come back out, so now you get into a situation with 2 players who both made critical errors in King of the Hill, who you have to send one of those 2 out for a 1v1 against a Pain Gaming squad that's looking pretty sharp right now.
A little high or a little low on that poison, but still should do its work against that Musketeer, and yeah, it's really tough to figure out who you want to field in that situation. I still think you go Belican because it seems like Pedro struggled a bit more, but I don't think the coach wants to go to the 3rd set here.
No, I mean, get out if you can, and it would be a nice feather in Michifu's cap to add his 2nd King of the Hill sweep to his career, put one on in the fall split of last year with Pain Gaming. And that is the thing to note here, Andrew, is that Michifu is playing against his former team. None of his former teammates there, but he did wear the black last season in CRL West.
Yeah, that is actually a really interesting point that you make, just because it feels so like, yeah, he played with them, but did he really play with these guys? No, he did not, but yes, he wore Pain, and you know, I honestly bet they miss Michifu. He's been playing so well this season that he would really add some of that veteran depth and calm that they need.
Well, they went for the all-Brazilian lineup in the fall, didn't work, and pulled the ripcord here in the spring. So, and they went for that in the spring and pulled the ripcord here in the fall. I don't know, Pain Gaming potential, but will they realize it quickly enough? And Royal Giant sets up for Lucas into the right-hand lane.
Easy barbs towards it.
Yeah, this is a tough matchup and tough situation for Lucas. Going to be so difficult if Michifu plays his defense even halfway right for the Royal Giant to break through on top.
Yeah, and knowing the way that Michifu plays, I just can't imagine he does anything that could even be mistaken as aggressive until he is so confident in his elixir position.
Moderately healthy Musketeer and 4 Barbs go ahead to protect. Poison down to get a little value on a Musketeer and a half for Michifu, and still behind for the moment, but not by a lot. 23-50 to 22-57 on the lowest towers.
And I think this is what we're going to see for the next little bit, Rich, is just Michifu waiting till he can comfortably stack 2 of these Barb Huts down because the elixir is flowing so quickly, and then we'll finally see that graveyard.
And look at how he's protecting the Barb Hut as well with the Night Kite on the Skeleton Dragons, trying to get himself in a position to do exactly what you're talking about. 1:45 left, and now Royal Giant with a Skeleton Dragon push goes into the right-hand side.
Yeah, Barb Hut back down again. However, this is a good moment for Lucas because that's a lot of elixir spent on the Royal Giant and the Skeleton Dragons in regards to defense, and he still gets a shot in.
20-45 right-hand side. Lucas does have the slight lead. 80 seconds left. Will he put the pressure on here in front of the Musketeer? No, goes opposite lane.
Barb Hut coming down now. Yep, there it is. But that's trouble for Michi. That's a lot of elixir to just drop right at the river into that splash damage.
You feel like so much more damage should be coming through on each one of those for Lucas, though, Andrew. And with not getting much out of those moments, it just feels like a matter of time before Michi is able to pull the trigger on one graveyard that can change everything.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem that Michi's having in accomplishing that right now is that his opponent is just a half elixir ahead of him, so he can't play these Barb Huts in a comfortable position. He has to keep playing them up at the river, and that is a really rough trade when you're trading 7 for 10 in triple.
Huge Musketeer for Michifu, takes the Muskie off behind Lucas's Royal Giant.
That's it.
And here we go. This is the opportunity, Andrew. And Michifu gonna maybe switch lanes here, potentially. We'll see.
I like that he waited a second before pulling the trigger on the graveyard here to see what his opponent wanted to play. I don't know if he's going to get much out of it, to be honest. Really, really well defended by Lucas.
Huge graveyard poison. Can Michi get back around one more time? Yes, he does. Graveyard in, trying to cycle for a second poison here. Will he get the damage? No, he will not. Lucas clutches up in game 5 and prevents the sweep from Michi.
Oh my goodness, 269 HP, and you can see the frustration on Michifu's face. This is the last thing that Cream wanted to do, was leave that door open for Lucas to walk on through. Now it's reset, 0-0, your best against their best, and right now it feels like Lucas might walk away with it.
Well, and you know, Andrew, you say your best versus their best. I don't think that's what we're seeing in this 1v1. We're going to see Payne's best. We're going to see most likely Lucas, although Vitor played brilliantly today as well. We are not going to see the best head-to-head player out of Cream Royale Betis in this 1v1, because that guy is Michifu, and he cannot play this third set.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, right? He's completely earned that title here. He's their best 2v2, and he's their star right now. He's their absolute star right now, but he's locked up in that 2v2 set. Look, what else do you want from the guy? He's going to bring home the 2v2. He's going to get you 2 wins in King of the Hill. This is why you have 3 other people on your roster. They've got to come through. They've got to make their money right now. And this is a big moment for St. Belican and Pedro to prove, St. Belican or Pedro to prove, that they have what it takes in that head-to-head play to become a top contender.
And you see the graveyard coming in before the Barb Barrel. You almost wonder if the Barb Barrel comes in before the graveyard and gives just 1 or 2 shots of tankage. If maybe 1 more skeleton, 2 more skeletons get on tower. Instead, we're in a situation where the graveyard is completely countered, does not get the value that it wanted, and Michifu not able to get the full King of the Hill sweep, not the full carry, and has to sit back and watch and hope one of his teammates can clutch it up in the third and final set.
You know, and that is really, we got to give credit where credit's due, and a lot of that had to do with Lucas's pressure on the left-hand side that was demanding those Barb Huts out over and over and over, because at the very end of that game, Lucas fireballs, Michifu gets a graveyard in. If there's 2 more seconds I think Mitchie wins that game. There was a lot of skeletons on that tower, but he could not make up for that lost time, which translates directly over to lost elixir just because that pressure was so great from Lucas. Again, barb hutting at the river is a rough position to be in when you got to do it, what, 4 defenses in a row, 5 defenses in a row?
Yeah, and you talked about the barb hut stack. Never able to get it done. Yeah. And that was a lot of that was the pressure from Lucas, never given an opportunity for Michifu to sit back and play comfortable defense, instead making him make decisions and make decisions he doesn't want to make.
Yeah, and you knew that they were going for that battle, right? Because we saw that moment Michifu started to protect his barb hut, and Lucas goes, no, I'm sending more elixir into that. Michifu ends up having to sacrifice the barb hut that he spent like 7 elixir defending, reset with a musketeer in the back, and that's a big win for Lucas. It might not seem like it when you're watching it, but it's huge because if that barb hut stayed alive with how much elixir was committed on both sides, we might be telling a different story.
And here we go. Like we thought, it's not going to be Pedro, who has lost the 3rd set twice this season. Belican coming out in the clutch spot, and we'll see how he fares against the top player from Pain Gaming.
Ooh, this is my blood pressure's up because I feel that this is such a huge moment for Lucas because of what happened, how he got his win stolen from him.
And this is so fascinating. Lucas, one of the top 3 Hog 2.6 players on the planet. Way. Playing it here, and I don't know how many times have we ever seen 2.6 in CRL, especially here on the western side, but Belican kind of going for, hey, I know you're going to play Hog, so guess what? I'm going to run Graveyard with NATO. Let's see if you can beat it.
Yeah, very, very strong points you make all around there. Lucas just going to what's best. Belican going, I think you're going to run it, so you're going to have a really tough matchup. And then just the joy of seeing Hog Rider 2.6 in competitive play. It is not recommended unless you're Jack or Lucas, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's a small number of players who you would feel confident doing this in this situation, and we're looking at one of them. But so far, you can see pretty easily controlled by Belly.
So my question is Lucas as good or better with 2.6 than Belican is with this version of Splash Yard? Because we know that Belican's not the best Splash Yard player in the world, but this is a very popular deck. Lucas is supposed to be one of the best Hog 2.6 players in the world, and I'm sure he's seen this matchup thousands of times.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he has. These are 2 of the most popular decks in the game. And overall, you know, because maybe it's, you know, it's one of those things where like, you look at matchup data and you kind of wonder, hey, like, is this accurate because of how popular these decks are? But overall, if you look at the records between these, this Graveyard deck has like a 3 out of 4 win rate, a 75% win rate over 2.6, and you're seeing why right now, the controllability. Could Lucas win this one? Absolutely. He's one of the greats, but it's going to be a tough uphill battle.
Yeah, incredibly tough because his defenses have been basically perfect and he's still not getting anything on offense and he's taking damage. So, you know, a lot of BM coming out from Lucas with the princess, you know, the thumbs up and the kissing face because he knows that he got caught. He knows that he was trying to pull a quick one and running his deck, comfort deck, and his opponent knew it was coming.
And Bomb Tower able to get down easily. This defense has so many options against the Hog Rider between the Bomb Tower, the Ice Wiz to buy you some time, and then NATO, of course, Graveyard in on the left-hand side, and Musketeer will fall to the poison as well.
I mean, if you're talking mechanics, this is a really fun game to watch for Lucas to defend, but there's just no way he's going to be able to come out on top with it. His Hog Rider cannot find its way to the tower, and it never will. These late NATOs, the Bomb Towers, the only damage that's going to be worthwhile is on King.
And here we go, trying to defend with the cannon, and back to Hog again on the right-hand side, and there is going to be no NATO, but there's going to be a Bomb Tower, and it's just feeling like this maybe, you understand why Lucas wanted to put on a show for the fans who desperately want to see him play 2.6 here. I don't think this was the right spot, and I don't think this was the right player to do it against.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about, you know, comfort decks from pros and when and where to play them, and hindsight's 2020 for us up in the booth, but it does feel like playing it in the second game a lot of times in these VO3s is the way to go. Playing it first game in a King of the Hill, it's paid off more than it's not, I feel like, but I don't think in BO3's running your comfort in game 1 is very smart.
Here we go, final minute, triple elixir, and just easy control here so far from Belican. Fireball trying to make a little bit more room, but guess what? There's the tornado, and it just feels worse and worse for Lucas as time goes on.
Yeah, so here we go, trying everything he can to stop the units from coming across the bridge. Belican has the elixir for another bomb tower. Should clean up this Hog Rider with ease, and poison damage in. 30 more seconds of pain for Lucas.
Yeah, we'll see if Belly even puts any more offense on the board here or just make sure. And see, that's the move that Lucas was trying to go for. The musky drop in front of the Hog Rider, and that's why you saw Belican take his foot off the gas there for a second. Maybe expecting that method of breaking through against this deck. It's a popular one, and able to defend against it perfectly. And this is going to be a nice, clean win for Belican in game 1.
Belican not able to actually take the tower down. Luke is still setting out the BMs. A very frustrating matchup for him, but you know, here's what he's got to do. He's got to reset, go back to the drawing board. Does he pull a fast one and run 2.6 again? Maybe if he was someone that had as much experience or as much clout as someone like a Surgical Goblin, someone that's a pro that's been in the league for a long time. I think if a rookie runs that deck 2 times in a row and loses twice in a row, it just looks really bad. I think we now see Lucas go to something a little bit more traditional in our current meta.
Yeah, I mean, look, 2.6 is still a phenomenal deck, and Lucas and many players, Oyasu, one of them able to push on ladder with it pretty high, but it's not super strong right now. And some people might be in the chat going, what, no, 2.6 is the most OP deck? It's not right now. It simply isn't. And, you know, you get some of the matchups that are out in the common meta right now, like this one, you're going to run into trouble. So I don't like the deck choice here from Lucas overall. And certainly I would be disappointed to see him go to it again here in game 2.
Well, and here's the other thing. I mean, we've called hundreds of competitive matches at this point, and we've called less than 5 2.6, I believe. I don't think that's an actual overstatement. There's a reason why. There's the same reason why. I mean, B-Rad did it a little bit, running, you know, that minor poison controlled deck before it was the minor poison Prince Spear Goblins deck that actually became popular for a bit. But there's just these certain ladder decks that don't work well in CRL because of the caliber of your opponent. You can't outplay someone with this deck when they have a counter. It's actually impossible unless they make huge mistakes.
Yep, so here we go. Big win for Belican, and so far looking like the right call for Cream Royale Betis to put in the British Bomber over their supposed 1v1 player in X-Pedro.
Yeah, and I like it. I think that's exactly what they do. It feels like they have kind of what they need for their roster moving forward, except they need wins from Pedro now in King of the Hill, as opposed to one game win in the 1v1 set. As much as it's rough because Michifu's so good in head-to-head play, you got to keep him in the 2v2. You can't deny what him and Diego E have been doing. So I really like this adjustment by Cream, and we'll see here in this next game if it pays off.
Here we go. Game number 2, Cream Royale Betis. With match point, Lucas needs to win 2 in a row to get the victory for Pain.
So Lucas maybe going to Mortar.
I like Lucas playing cycle decks. I wonder how much Belican was going, okay, one cycle deck out. What's the next most popular cycle deck? I'll defend against that one.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. The Fisherman is actually pretty frustrating when you're playing against it in this deck. I mean, yes, you can distract it with your Goblins pretty easily, but the moment that your Knight stops being your tank regularly and their opponent has splash damage, it can be really tough.
So Lava Hound for Belican. Be curious to see how Lucas is able to defend against this one.
And Clone.
And it is Lava Clone. No big surprises here out of the Brit.
Yeah, that's a tough one right there. Musketeer's going to go down. Lava Hound's going to pop. Baby Dragon's going to tank for all of it. And even though Lucas shouldn't take a ton of damage here, he should be down on Elixir.
Yeah, going to be behind 1 as we go past the first minute of gameplay, and Lucas does have the damage lead a bit, but Belly, as you said, ahead, and The question is, how much is Lucas going to have to overspend as time goes on to play defense against these lava clone pushes?
Yeah, and the ability to keep pressure up in the opposite lane so your opponent can't clone like 7 units is really important. But then also, if your opponent decides to ignore your mortar, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, then what are they going to do on offense? And will you have enough elixir because you sacrificed 4?
They're going to go ahead and take all that tower damage on the right-hand side. Will Belican, and setting up the same idea. This time Lumberjack comes in. Skeleton Barrel trying to distract, but not going to be a huge distraction here. Clone does not get the baby dragon. Don't know if that matters here, though. That's a ton on the left-hand side.
It's just too tough. I mean, there's no way to actually stop these pushes. Like, this is, again, you talk matchup, this is a really rough matchup. That's why you're getting the LOL and the Laughing King here from Lucas. How do you stop it? There's no way to do it with this deck, man. If there's a tank in front, you can't get the goblins behind it because of the baby dragon. You can't get clone off the board with the skeleton barrel, and there's no poison. It's just a loss.
I don't know who's doing the analysis for Pain Gaming, but they certainly deserve a talking to after this game today. Having Lucas go out and play 2.6 in game number 1, you're playing against Belican, who's a very cerebral player and who's known for being really great at gaming matchups. And you went with 2 of the most predictable calls possible here for Lucas, who's a phenomenal player, but you played right into Belican's hand and pretty much handed him a golden opportunity to clutch up for Cream Royale.
I mean, our job is to sit here and look at the games and say exactly what we see, and Pain set their star up for failure here. They just did. Not only have they set their star up for failure before by making them play behind by making those mistakes, but again, right here, these 2 matchups, no one wins those. Surgical Goblin against like a 5-year-old doesn't win those because there's just no way. It's just a horrible, horrible position to put your guy in. And if you just look at the cards, unless that clone's not used, there's no way to stop it. There really isn't. There's a couple great moments where a skeleton barrel will pop and clear a few units up. We saw that the very first push, the skeleton barrel did a great job cleaning certain things up. Fireball came in just in time. He was still down elixir and down in damage, and you can't. There's just no way.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see here, Clone goes ahead and just runs roughshod, not even worried about the mortar. This is kind of disappointing overall. I have to say, Lucas is a phenomenal player, and for the team not to sit back and go, okay, Belican is the guy we're facing off against in 1v1. They had to expect it was Belican and not Pedro here. How do they not make the choices of, okay, what does he think we're going to play? Let's play something outside of that. Let's play the counter to the counter. Let's do something other than do what's the most expected thing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the 2.6 was a nice shot in the dark here, a nice attempt from Lucas to give some fan service in this 1v1 set. Going from there to Mortar Skeleton Barrel, to me, is one of those things that you maybe start looking for a new analyst.
Well, because, look, we talked a lot about it, and I even mentioned beforehand, you go to your comfort deck a lot of times in game 2, because the worst that happens is you lose with the best deck that you play, right? What's Belican known for? Clone. What's stopping Clone? Poison. So if you're going to be a person that starts to run into Belican regularly in a BO3, you got to start working those spells in that directly address Clone. And if you're not going to do that, then you at least need to run a deck that can create enough pressure in the opposite lane or contest against it in the same lane. Lucas did something that a lot of more players, including myself, are going to do, which is try to create pressure so your opponent can't pour it on. But in this matchup, you just ignore the pressure, pour it on, GG, well played, on to the next one.
And this is a big win for Cream Royale Betis. 1v1 has been the difficult point for them so far. They showed some flexibility here today. Mm-hmm. They put Belican in that spot. He came through with a clear, easy win with good deck selection, high cerebral play out of Belican, and they weathered some adversity. That King of the Hill was certainly frightening here, but now Cream Royale Betis goes in to the next week, even overall on record, and with an undefeated 2v2 duo. I like their look here as we go to the second part of the season.
100%. Here we go. This is the big one. SK Gaming and Tribe, who will remain perfect.
West is finally here for the fall split, and it's already been great. I'm Rich Slayton, and these are the top 5 plays from week 1 of the Clash Royale League. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, leave a comment, tell a friend. tell your grandma, tell everyone, here is number 5 opening up the show. It's Vitor against the God RF, and Vitor in a tough spot here, already down 1 set. And look at that prediction fireball came out from the future. Let's look at that one more time in slow motion. You see the skeleton dragons drop, and then the fireball comes out and says, bye-bye, Skelly Dragons. Hello, death. Of course, the God RF went on to win that one and sweep the set. GG, well played for Spacestation. On to play number 4, IMJP against Wings, and you can see a huge play right here. Wings respond to the balloon with the high Goblin Cage. IMJP sees that coming a mile away and plays the Skeleton Dragons to push that balloon outside of target range. The pull failed, tower down. IMJP and Team Queso coming out hot with our number 4 play. On to number 3. TNT up against Kevin RA of Chivas Esports in game number 1 of King of the Hill. And this one has been Kevin's game the entire way through, still in the lead at this point. And check out the wherewithal of TNT in this moment. Goes with the log on the right-hand side, not fooled by the Goblin Gang on the left. Uses the Spear Goblins to pick those up and wins this one by just a hair. Oh my word, that's just 9 HP. The first of a King of the Hill sweep by Tribes TNT. GG, well played, son. Tribe Gaming looking dangerous here in the fall split. On to number 2. It's the God RF back on here one more time because, oh yeah, he won that game against Vitor earlier, and here he is now, playing in King of the Hill, trying to finish the sweep of the entire match against Lucas for Pain Gaming. Hog Rider goes left-hand side, and the Goblins come out to distract that Fisherman. Hog Rider gets on tower, that's tower down. Let's zoom in, look at that one more time. Beautiful play. Hog Rider to the left, Goblins come out, Fisherman is completely bamboozled. That's GG, well played, and oh yeah, the Princess Yawn emote from the God RF. Let's go. On to number 1, the top play of the week, the tightest finish in a weekend of crazy tight finishes. It's Tribe Gaming against Chivas Esports, and check it out, Chivas Esports is a mile ahead as we go into sudden death overtime. The miner gets behind the Goblin Cage, and it seems right now with 52 HP that there is no way for Tribe Gaming to get back in this one, except for the fact that they have Azelis and Boofmac, 2 of the best in the business at the helm. And check out the heads-up play here. Lightning gonna come in, take care of that Lumberjack, and they get on tower faster than the spells can go the opposite direction. 1 poison tick, 2 poison tick, don't you dare, 6 HP. Tribe Gaming wins the first game. Of course, they won all 5. Tribe looking like monsters once again. Absolutely terrifying these guys are. You know what's also terrifying? Missing a single moment of Clash Royale League West action this fall. So don't forget to subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, and make sure you're here for every single second of CRL West. I'm Rich Slayton. That's your top 5 for week 1. Thanks for watching. Welcome back, folks, for our second match of the day. A beautiful view of the cathedral in Cologne. And very, very apropos as we are about to jump into a match between the German organization SK Gaming and, of course, Tribe, the stacked powerhouse lineup. And Andrew, I am so pumped for this one. The two undefeated teams, we will only have one team at 4-0 after this one. And right now it seems like both squads are firing on all cylinders.
I don't know what to say about this that you guys aren't already thinking. This is going to be such an incredible match. I don't really know if any specific team takes favors in a set. I guess maybe you give King of the Hill a slight edge to Tribe, I guess. But 2v2, it feels like could go either way. And the same thing with 1v1. Jupiter King on one side, Javi on the other. How do you bet against either of them? This is what CRL at the highest level is all about. 3 sets. We don't know how many games it's going to go to. I'm feeling 3-5-3, and anyone could walk away the winner. Let's do this, man. I'm hyped.
Yeah, we were forced to pick.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the thing is we had to pick one team or the other for our predictions. And I picked Tribe, and again, it was purely just because, especially when you get into TNT and Jupiter King, the stone cold play of those two, I think could carry the day through King of the Hill in 1v1. But who knows, man? They have to play, and I could not be more excited.
Yeah, you throw in Buffmac in 2v2 and in King of the Hill. SK Gaming, Tribe, let's take a look, and then let's get to the action. This is going to be the best matchup we're going to see before we get into the finals of CRL West. Will Javi be able to take down Jupiter in 1v1?
Insult to injury. Javi Catorze pitching a shutout in Game 3.
And then which squad is going to come out with that killer King of the Hill lineup?
Huge balloon connection. Second drop gets in. Buffmac gonna put Spacestation Gaming away in King of the Hill.
A partida mais importante do final de semana, valendo invencibilidade na competição. Tribe SK.
Que até o chat tá pra pegada também. Já vem Gigante Real, Decão vai bater livre ali. O que acontece agora?
Em cima da...
No. ¿Qué te puedo decir? Lucha de los líderes acá, 3-0 cada uno. ¿Quién se llevará la corona momentánea a la CRL? Veanlo a continuación.
¡No! ¡Lo que está jugando! ¡Y Torre la gana! ¡Ope San con toda de la ley, Manu! ¡Genial!
So this is it, folks. The match that is the marquee of the weekend. SK Gaming, Tribe Gaming. And I'm going to throw a lot of rankings at you because basically what we have in these two matches, Andrew, are the stat leaders in almost every single category.
So Javi Catorce, Morton, Sergio Ramos, and OP Sam coming out for SK Gaming. And I'll let you talk all the numbers when you'd like because I guarantee you there are so many accolades between these 8 stars. I don't even know if we're going to be able to fit it in between 3 sets.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely insane. Morton and Sam, the 2v2 duo for SK Gaming. One of the top 2v2 duos of all time. Both with a 61% win rate, putting them amongst the top 5 players in 2v2. And Tribe Gaming's 2v2 duo, Azili's 71% win rate, the leader amongst players with more than 10 games. And of course, his teammate Buffmac also in that top 10 at 57%. Huge 2v2.
Yeah, and you talk about rounding out that roster with head-to-head stars. Well, let's talk about a guy in TNT who has been one of the most consistent players since he joined the league. And honestly, one of the players that's been slept upon the most because the man right next to him, Jupiter King here on Tribe, has been basically unstoppable for the 2 seasons we've had the luxury of hanging out with him here in CRL West. Morton and Sam banning Tornado, no big surprise there. But Buffmac and Azili's banning Skeleton Barrel is a direct response to how good the Germans are with double bait.
Half of the top 10 head-to-head win rates in CRL, Andrew, are amongst these two teams. Absolutely insane. I cannot wait. Let's go ahead and jump into the 2v2. Morton and Sam against Buffmac and Azili's.
And I love Azili's signature look when he's playing, which is 30 feet away in his beautiful room here.
Yeah, just relaxing like he's ready to gossip at a sleepover on his bed.
Morton and Sam hanging out in the SK house, and here we go.
So the interesting ban here, Andrew, out of Tribe Gaming, Skeleton Barrel ban, and you were talking about this when we saw it earlier. Pretty clear reasons why when you're up against Morton and Sam.
Yeah, I mean, we saw yesterday how Spacestation Gaming ran it in one game. We saw how their opponents responded in the next. But if you talk about double bait in 2v2, it does feel like Morton and Sam are the absolute best at it.
Snowball to reset the Inferno Dragon. A little bit of burn here. 21-19 on the left-hand side. Buffmac and Azealis in the lead as the first minute of gameplay passes.
SK so far this season has 2-0'd Pain and Dignitas in this set, and they took down Benny Hu and Kuchiku 2-1, giving them a great record of 6-1, as you were saying earlier this season.
You talk about Azealis' win rate in games at 71%. It gets even more dominant when you talk about sets overall, because the number of 2-1 victories he has in 2v2, 16-5, so an approaching 80% win rate in the 2v2 when it comes to overall sets.
It's just astounding for a guy that you and I thought might be done after his very first season in NAEU, just because he didn't really seem that passionate about the game, and it was because he didn't really have a home in the game. Now, Azealis is more motivated than ever, and you talk about a win rate, I don't know how you can be ecstatic about that.
Well, let's be very clear about it. Azealis was done.
Yeah.
He was not on the roster for Team Queso early going into the 2019 season. He was a late, last-minute replacement when they had to I can't remember who it was who was meant to be on the roster, but they had to replace one of their players, and he was a late addition, and it's turned out to be one of the best choices made for not just Team Queso at that moment, for CRL overall.
So Buffmac and Azealis adding another wrinkle into this Balloon Graveyard deck with the Lava Hound. So now we've got Lava Loon Graveyard, which you saw there. There was no damage on that balloon before it got to the tower for Morton and Sam.
Well, this is one of the things that has made this duo so good, even in this limited run that they've had, is they have not been afraid to take risks, to innovate, to do stuff that nobody else is doing. And that's a huge balloon connection on the right-hand side.
That's enough.
Fireball not going to be enough.
Oh my
11
gosh!
HP. Morton and Sam pull it out. Buffmac cannot believe it.
I can't believe it either. The damage is there. You see Morton and Sam. Look at them. Morton, pretty characteristically kind of smiling. Sam, I don't even know if he knows what just happened, as you even saw in the highlight video after his big King of the Hill wins. He was just like, all right, here we go. An 11 HP clincher. And, wow, game 2 coming at you.
Wow. And I know there's a lot of people. I run a weekly contest on my Twitter where whoever guesses the closest HP win wins $50. Of course, if there's only one winner, so if there's multiple people who guess the same thing, we go to like a little drawing. And there were a lot of 11 HP guesses.
Wow.
So I know there's a lot of fans right now who are excited at their chance to win that.
I can't believe that. I cannot believe that they were not able to get another unit down. Anything, any spell. But if you look at their hand, I mean, look what they got. A Heal Spirit, not going to get there. Fireball, that's it. Fireball and Freeze.
The defensive... Look at that, defensive freeze, but nothing really takes care. And this is interesting. Look, the Inferno Dragon is on the balloon, and it just runs away to the Goblin Cage, pulls it out of Inferno territory, and that's a huge connection. Absolutely insane finish.
I mean, you play that Goblin Cage a couple tiles to the right, you don't even need to drop that additional unit that came down for Tribe, and instead, which was the freeze, the additional spell, and then you could use that freeze to take the tower. We go to a 2-tower game, you're in a better spot. Oh my goodness, Sam and Morton, how many times have we seen them fall behind in a game, and then when the end of that 5 minutes is up, somehow they walk away with the W?
It's just so crazy that Tribe Gaming had that locked down. And you think, okay, cool, we have the Inferno Dragon burning, we'll get the cage down to pull to just do a little extra defense. And the backfire there. That's the second time today, Andrew, in 2v2, we've seen a cage disrupt the appropriate defense for a moment, where we saw the same thing happen with 2v2 with the double drop of the Fireball and the cage by Pain Gaming. Here, the cage undoes the work of the Inferno Dragon.
I mean, one of the most exciting things and fascinating things about watching pros play is when you see 100 things going on the board and they manage each one of them exactly perfectly because they know every single interaction. This is one of those moments where you miss just one, and that's everything. They literally missed not even hitting anything. It was just a misplacement of a defensive building for a balloon that actually pulled it away from their biggest damage dealer. It's insane, but that's why we love Clash Royale. They shouldn't have won that game, but somehow they did.
And, when you think about it on the front end, it's not even conceptually a misplacement.
Yeah, no.
You put a goblin cage there. It stops a balloon from continuing on. That balloon was so low on HP, but there was so much distractions on the board. There was almost too much going on that the right play became the wrong play. And here we go with SK Gaming being gifted the win in game number 1.
Yeah, do we see more innovation here from Tribe or something a little bit more tried and true? Let's go.
They tend to innovate game 1 and go a little bit more safe in game number 2. That's been the general rhythm for Tribe Gaming in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that again here.
Yeah, and honestly, this is where I'd love to see the Germans pull out something kind of new. If they can't do the double bait, do they have something else up their sleeve that they've been working on?
Goblin Barrel wall breakers, maybe. I've been actually seeing that pop up weirdly a little bit in head-to-head play.
That sounds annoying.
That is the best way to put that. No questions. So a slow start here. You can see Buffmac just sitting back waiting to respond in the left-hand lane. And looks like they might be doing the same thing again.
Yeah, feeling like that 11 HP was more than just being robbed. And now Morten and Sam, did they know it was coming? They switch in the Inferno.
They're good at this. They are very good at making these adjustments. We've seen it multiple times from Morten and Sam, predicting that someone runs back the same deck after a close loss, and then making one little adjustment to their 16 cards to get a better matchup.
So 13 Elixir in the hands of Tribe to defend this, and you see not spent the way they'd like. Down to 4. This Baby Dragon's going to go by the wayside, and this Musketeer is going to be a very easy, positive trade.
Easily taken care of by the Skeletons on the right-hand side. Does not get the shot off. Right now, about a 1 Elixir advantage, maybe 1.5 Elixir advantage for SK Gaming. And they do have the damage lead, 1942 to 2384, as we approach double Elixir time.
And Royal Giant Lumberjack at the river. Was the fireball worth it? We'll find out in a second.
And that Royal Giant going to do a pile of damage to that right-hand tower. Fisherman not going to do much to defend. Tribe Gaming in a really difficult spot.
I really don't like that fireball on the Skeleton Dragons. I mean, even in a 1v1 matchup in single Elixir, when it's coming a little bit faster, usually it's a bait, or usually it's a way to get your opponent to spend Elixir they shouldn't, and that fireball on the Skeleton Dragons really hurt them.
Raged up balloon. Is there a freeze available? No, there's not. Plenty of DPS to take down that balloon push. 1407 on the left-hand side, but there is this healthy Lava Hound push cleaned up by the fireball on the right.
Getting a little bit overwhelmed are Sam and Morten, so this is a moment for Buffmac and Azilius to go back on the offensive and see what they can make happen, giving a little bit of value there that they probably shouldn't have. We'll see if they can still capitalize. Uh-oh.
And a nice freeze. The lightning comes in the opposite direction and just barely back to the Inferno Tower in time as SK.
Wow, what a heads-up Inferno Tower play. But with that, Azilius and Buffmac back in the lead. Oh, yes.
Back in the lead by just a hair. They got the damage on both sides, and now they set up for the Lava Hound push on the right. You might see them go Lumberloon again on the left. Graveyard in on the right this time.
I like this Lava Hound Graveyard Balloon deck. You know, it felt like that first game they got a little bit robbed, but you can see right now how much of a threat it creates offensively.
Freeze played on defense this time, so going to have to go for the balloon on its own. Lumberjack controlled by the Heal Spirit, but does get one shot and will give the Rage to the balloon on the left-hand side.
Royal Giant on the tower on the right, raged up, Fireball going to come in, gets that last shot in, now they just need the Lightning to come in. This should do it for SK Gaming. There it is.
Wow, Tribe Gaming was so close multiple times in a row. Morten and Sam completely locked it down, and you have to go back to that Goblin Cage in game number 1. If that doesn't come down, it feels like we are singing a completely different tune.
I love the deck choice from Buff and Azelis. I love seeing that and how it works together, and I bet you will see more of it moving forward. The problem is the Germans are just too good at managing all of that. You get any other duo out there, and I think that they take this, but Sam and Morten have proven time and time and time again that you can throw 1,000 units at them and they can somehow defend and get at least one elixir out of it. It's just an incredible thing.
Yeah, and we still now have 2 undefeated 2v2 duos, Andrew. Not counting Lapo and RF because they're not the duo anymore for Spacestation Gaming. Morten and Sam now at 4-0 in sets alongside Diego E and Michifu, but Morten and Sam are now 8-1 in games on the season, a nearly 90% win rate so far.
So this is a moment that they're highlighting because I was a little critical of that fireball. I just don't like the fireball and the skeleton dragon right there. I think you could just hold it for a second and see what else they put on the river as those skeleton dragons are crossing, right? So let's say they hold it for a second longer and then they get to hit the lumberjack, the royal giant, and the skeleton dragons. Maybe it just makes it so that lumberjack doesn't get the one hit in and that push dies a little more quickly.
That defense on the left that we just saw there from SK Gaming, Andrew, was huge because it was a well-timed balloon push out of Tribe Gaming. The Inferno Tower wasn't in cycle or was pretty far out of cycle at the time they started it, but just barely getting back in time, and a big part of that was the lightning stunning and damaging that balloon to make just enough defense to prevent that tower from being taken.
Yeah, and help me along here. I believe it was week 1 that we saw a good amount of Inferno Tower being played. I think that's correct. And it's been really strong when we have seen it, but not a lot of teams have been using it or utilizing it the way that they should. Now, you see Sam and Morten, they don't use it in every single one of their games, but somehow they find the right moments to use it. And honestly, that Inferno Tower was a massive difference maker when you talk about going up against that Lava Hound specifically. It was the X factor, if you will, and now Sam and Morten 2-0 on Azelis and Buffmac. Very, very nicely played.
Well, when double bait is no longer in the mix, the Inferno Tower suddenly gets a much higher likelihood of being valuable in 2v2, right? So they know they're not going to face that, and now they're kind of making a gamble. Do they think that Buff and Azelis feel good enough about that game that they go back to it? Okay, let's make one adjustment to a deck that we know how to run pretty easily, throw the Inferno Tower in. You run the risk of something like maybe Hogs coming out, but with so many options that do play well against the Inferno Tower, once double bait is gone, smart move here from the Germans.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really great point you make. And again, Sam and Morten, we said it, they are guys that have a pretty good intuition, a gut feeling about what their opponent's going to run, or if they're going to run the deck back again. And great little adjustment there. They feel that Buffmac and Azelis thought they should have stolen game number 1. They maybe use their pride against them, adjust their own deck, and take an easy game 2.
So here we go into King of the Hill. This has not been the big set for SK Gaming so far. Swept by Codigo, swept by Ruben, and they had to go to game 5 to beat Pain. So we'll see if they can hold up here against Tribe's massive King of the Hill roster as we go into game number 1.
Yeah, let's not forget that Wallace was almost able to pull off a sweep as well. So SK Gaming, this is their rough set. That's a thing for this team.
TNT did get the opening season sweep against Chivas Esports for Tribe and that King of the Hill. And of course, in their last game against Misfits, it was a full 3-player effort between TNT, Buffmac, and Jupiter King.
TNT running a mortar deck with Royal Delivery. I like it.
Yeah, since the knockback was removed, Royal Delivery so much less popular, but between the ability to hit air troops and spawn a unit for distraction, still has a lot of defensive viability in the right situation.
For sure, and then that unit being able to soak up a shot, any shot, right? Peck a swing, whatever it have you, because of that shield is really, really nice.
And OP Sam going Royal Hogs. It has not been as much of a meme this season out of the German players, but still not surprised to see it from Sam.
TNT setting his phone down, cracking his knuckles. Love to see it. Just figuring out how he'd like to take on his opponent, as he does still have a 70 HP lead.
First 90 seconds away, and Sam now setting up in the right-hand lane. Heal Spirit, Fisherman, Mega Knight.
Yeah, so Mega Knight will leap on top of this Cannon Cart? No, Cannon Cart gets pulled behind.
And this might actually work out. No, the Cannon Cart gets absorbed. And now it's going to be TNT, and there you see the Royal Delivery usage, and so helpful against the Skeleton Dragons, both in terms of the damage and, again, that distraction.
Okay, let's see a little nod there from TNT. He's happy to just hang back for a while until he pulls the trigger on his Graveyard. He really wants to see how Sam is going to make mistakes or where Sam likes to play his hogs, what he's going to favor, and then I think we'll start to see that aggressive push from TNT. And you can see right here he's already setting up for it by setting up that hog, or the Cannon Cart to the left.
A lot of damage on the right-hand side, though, maybe a bit more than TNT anticipated. Getting the Skeleton Dragons out of the way early, but Sam now setting up for his Graveyard defense.
And I like that from Sam. And he sends out those Skeleton Dragons early so that it baits out the poison and it keeps TNT from actually going Graveyard. I don't know if he was going to do it in that moment or not, but he 100% couldn't do it after that move by Sam.
And this time the delivery comes out perfectly in tandem with the mortar to stop that push. Mega Knight sets up on the left-hand side. Here we go. First Graveyard from TNT.
Yeah, that felt like a pretty obvious Graveyard there. You get the Mega Knight behind the tower. You know it's not going to be able to walk up past it. It's going to leave a little bit of a door open for that Musketeer.
Low on Elixir is TNT and drops forward to defend against the Pigs, but you saw Sam taking the opportune moment to push and extends the lead. 600 HP on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and the only way TNT maybe comes out of this match alive is by doing exactly what he's doing right now, which is essentially eating that entire Mega Knight on his left-hand tower.
Poison on the left. TNT trying to stick the Musketeer inside the poison. Does a good job with that, controlling with the Knight high. Final 90 seconds on its way. And another leap in from the Mega Knight, so huge dual lane pressure now from the German.
Yeah, big mistakes there from TNT. Those Skeletons should have been played either earlier behind the Mega Knight or later and up higher. What he did there was he played him too late. Easy kill with the splash damage to the Mega Knight. Leap to the Musketeer, leap to tower, and just small mental mistakes.
And Pigs all over the right-hand side. That's going to be it. Sam takes game number 1 for SK.
And TNT upset about that one. I would be too. Just a couple small mistakes there from TNT. Almost uncharacteristic, but also he is going up against OP Sam, who is a guy that is an incredible head-to-head player. You know, that's one of the things that Morton and I talked about in the interviews is, you know, Sam is kind of known as a 2v2 guy now, but he still teaches Morton a lot about head-to-head play. So Sam now 3-0 on the day and a rough start for Tribe.
Sam 3-0 on the day, and overall 77 win rate on the season, 10-3 in games.
So we see here, this is the Mega Knight leaping, and you saw right there beforehand where those Skeletons were placed. If he would have placed them very early on and helped with the DPS when he had the Knight down, maybe it goes down. Ideally, he probably plays them high and in the center, you know, 4 tiles up and to the left of that mortar, so that the Mega Knight leaps to the Skeletons, then goes to the mortar, and all the while the Musketeer is taking care of it.
It's so interesting, like you look at Sam's deck overall, and your brain doesn't feel like it cycles that slowly. But then you start looking at it, right? You start examining 4 Elixir for the Musketeer, 4 for the Mortar, 5 for the Cannon Cart, and both those spells are 3 and 4 respectively. This is a little bit slower of a deck than it looks like, than it feels like. It's all very middle. And so you saw over and over again, Sam not able to cycle back around quickly enough to appropriate, or TNT not able to cycle around quickly enough to appropriate defense for those Royal Hogs, and Sam consistently punished him.
Yeah, and the one time it looked like TNT was going to maybe go in with the Graveyard, Sam had that great early cycle on those Skeleton Dragons, so TNT had to make a choice. 4 Elixir, tower damage, Skeleton Dragons down, poison. 5 Elixir, Graveyard, nothing, right? So he decides to go for the correct decision first, but that was the great thing there is offense is defense sometimes, and Sam goes, look, I know exactly what you're going to do. I'm going to set you up for failure. You're going to have to reset your push, and I'm going to continue to control this game.
So the player who has hit number 1 on ladder so far, perfect on the day, OP Sam 3-0 between 2v2 and King of the Hill. Coming up next in terms of Tribe Gaming's roster, going to be Buffmac. Yeah. And so far, while they started with Azelis earlier in the season, now this is, I believe, the 3rd game in a row where they've sent Buffmac out for King of the Hill.
Yeah, you know, Buffmac has picked up 3 wins and 1 loss in his King of the Hill showings over the last 2 matches, so why not, right? He was a guy that when he was originally picked up as a free agent, everyone thought it was to be the head-to-head star of a squad. Little did they know he was actually going to be a King of the Hill star and a 2v2 phenom.
Well, it's a good turnaround for Buffmac because he put the 2nd lowest win rate in the No Tilt League Special Edition amongst players who play 10 or more games. 6 and 15, 29% abysmal bottom barrel performance in that sort of season warm-up, and didn't win any head-to-head games at all. Went 0-2 in head-to-head during the regular season, or during the season last year. But now he's back in form, and when you have Buffmac being great in both 2v2 and King of the Hill, it makes Tribe Gaming so unbelievably scary.
I mean, those numbers are unbelievable. It seems impossible that Buffmac would have just like dropped down that low, but it happens. We see it all the time in sports where people have on and off seasons, and Buffmac is clearly very on this season.
So far, 7-6 overall across all 3 sets is the Brit.
You can see there Buffmac,
You know, talking
knowing he got a little aggressive with that fireball. Sorry, continue.
I was talking about Buffmac's seasons, the one that put him really on the map as the star was, of course, that fall with Energy last season, where he was the league leader in 1v1 games and sets, in King of the Hill games, and an overall head-to-head game wins. So a 4-category stat leader from that fall split.
I'm a little surprised we saw the cycle of the Fisherman from sand to the opposite lane, kind of seeing the cards that had come out from his opponent already. It's not the end of the world, you know, that RG gets a little bit of damage in, and the Fisherman's actually got a tank for that Mega Knight, which is really nice. But just a little surprised to see that.
Here we go, first 2 minutes away. You see a little bit of a nod and the head tilt from Buffmac, and a big breath in this moment.
Yeah, another big breath, doing everything he can to calm his nerves, and that's a big thing. You know, you'll see that a lot from these guys taking gigantic breaths in high-pressure situations.
So far, not a lot of offense for Buffmac. That log taking the left-hand tower down to 1884. Still pretty close between these 2 players as we get closer to sudden death over.
And I like the patience of Sam here. This is definitely a moment where we're going to see Buffmac go back on the offensive. Skeleton Dragon's going to be healthy. And there he goes, the offensive fireball. Going to take out the Hunter. Nice snowball.
You see a lot of expressiveness out of Buffmac. Just a lot of things making him feel uncomfortable right now.
And you know what? That's honestly something I think maybe his coach should talk to him about. I understand that things aren't going exactly the way that Buffmac would like, but I feel like he's almost being too critical on himself considering where they're at in this match.
Where they're at in this match, and, well, you'd think that having a King Tower activation against Graveyard would be a huge advantage, but turns out to be not the case there, and a big part of that is because of the tankage from the Mega Knight.
Yeah. It's really tough to get enough damage on that Mega Knight without the Hunter just right in its face.
Royal Giant Fireball will get things much closer, 12-14 to 19-18, and the log does make that even a little bit closer right now. Final 90 seconds. And just trying to get a little bit more damage on tower right now is OPC.
I like those skeletons. Really, really nice use of the skeletons. Going to stop that E-Wiz and the Mega Knight. Hunter cycled in the back again, and I don't know if Sam wants to keep doing that because he's got the Fisherman-Hunter combination, and this Royal Giant just keeps kind of hanging out and walking on through.
And there you have Buffmac with the lead as we go into the final minute. Triple Elixir on its way. Sam cycling the Mega Knight in the back. Slight Elixir lead here for the German.
So there goes the E-Wiz, good. Now maybe the Goblin Cage or something else, get an early Goblin Cage out, but he needs his Fisherman and Hunter in cycle for the next RG.
And just a little bit of Poison Cycle right now for Sam. Mega Knight goes to the opposite lane, not where he'd want. A good Fisherman work from Buffmac.
And now this is what I like to see from Sam. Sam puts that Goblin Cage back on his side of the map, lets it sit down. He's going to cycle all the way back around, so if Buffmac does drop the RG, which he won't, that cage will be ready to go again.
Graveyard Poison in on the left-hand side. Mega Knight not able to get in the mix, but doesn't matter. Snowball trying to make a bit more room, and 435 to 472. Log comes in. This one should be close.
Excellent heal spirit there from Buffmac to keep those Skeleton Dragons alive. Sam going to go back on the offensive here. There's the Graveyard. Splash damage from the Mega Knight going to happen. Turned around.
Oh my word. Fireball trying to steal it back. Not going to happen. Sam takes game number 2 of King of the Hill. 2 up, 2 down in a great spot for SK.
And if you looked very, very closely there, I think you saw a smile from Sam. He knows that he played that match incredibly well. Very, very patient, looking for the correct moments, never overcommitting on anything. And that's a big part of why Buffmac was taking those breaths. Look, I'm not saying he shouldn't be an emotional player. I'm just saying maybe he tries to temper that a little bit to keep his brain exactly where he needs for that entire 5 minutes. Every time you take one of those sighs and those head shakes, it does affect you mentally, even if it's only by 0.5%. And I didn't think he was that far behind. Really, really well played by both of these guys.
Well, you know, it's a lot of it's difficult defense. Look at the deck makeup here. Difficult defensive sequences for Buffmac against Graveyard, but then you get the King Tower activation, and you feel like you have gotten a huge win with that King Tower activation, right? You've given yourself a huge chance to win this game and couldn't get it done. The Graveyard poison pushes kept on putting so much damage on that left-hand tower.
Yeah, and that right there, I believe, was the sequence right after I was talking about the Heal Spirit keeping the Skeleton Dragons alive. But this is also where Buffmac kind of goes back in, sells out everything on top of the tower. He gets, I believe, 1 splash damage hit from the Mega Knight in, and that's all he needs. OP Sam goes, all right, I'm going to sit back, poison out, 228 HP remaining on his bottom left-hand tower. I mean, what else do you want? And that was even with what I felt was some misplays with the Hunter and Fisherman.
You know, it's one of those things about the Fisherman where I keep waiting for someone to say A2 Fisherman because it keeps on stabbing his controller in the back. You see that when I believe, if I remember correctly, was that the Fisherman pulling that last Mega Knight in close and tight on that Princess Tower. It just does the same thing over and over again. When the Fisherman works well, it's so good. But when the Fisherman decides to stab you in the back, it's absolutely brutal.
I mean, the Fisherman is one of those cards that anytime I've been coached by a pro, they talk to me about how important it is to never carelessly cycle and how important it is to always have ready for defense. And so we saw a couple times there where it just wasn't in cycle for either of these guys. But you know what? Sam's still able to pull it out. Now, Jupiter King, their true 1v1 star, trying to close out SK Gaming, but he's got to go 3 here and 3, or best 2 of 3 in that 1v1.
Yeah, there's a lot of blue on the left-hand side talking about this matchup. What nobody expected was a 5-game sweep from SK Gaming. So Sam might be about to put a stamp on the league here. A team that was, in SK Gaming, maybe a little undervalued coming into this fall split.
Yeah, and I love it. They were 100% even by me. I'll say it right now as a guy that, you know, was thinking they would walk away with the win today. I definitely undervalued them at the top of the season, and they proved me wrong. And one of the reasons why was when I sat down and talked to Morton last weekend, he said, look, we're 3-0 right now, and we're not happy. All right, we're 3-0 right now, and we have a lot of work to do. We made a lot of mistakes, and that's exactly the kind of championship mindset you need.
Barb Hut for Jupiter King. OP Sam might be running Royal Giant here. If so, this is going to be a challenging game for him. First minute, 20 seconds away, and splitting the 6-man 3-3 have not seen as much Royal recruits as of late.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about this matchup is how incredibly methodical and patient both of these players are. I can't wait to see the first mistake.
Musketeer sets up low for Jupiter King. One Royal recruit will get on tower, and those 2 on tower, and the Musketeer completely distracted. That is a huge opening blow by Sam.
Yeah, and I guess asking you shall receive. Those skeletons not doing the work that Jupiter King expected ends up taking about 600 damage on that right-hand side.
You know, we talked about the No Tilt League Special Edition earlier, where Buffmac put up one of the worst win rates in the league. On the other side of it, his teammate right now, Jupiter King, put up the top win rate, 23-10, a 70% win rate throughout that event.
Go and look at who played in that event, too. Go and look, people. It's insane that he put up those numbers.
No, it was a CRL West preview, essentially. It was a preseason tournament, and he went and did that to everybody. So that's why everyone's so high on Jupiter King this season, and you can see him battling back now. OP Sam going with Royal Hogs, Royal Recruits, so the Royal deck out of the German.
Jupiter's just so calculated. You know, it was like he knew exactly the moves that Sam was going to make, and he knew that he was going to be able to get a few shots in if he just kind of continued to commit his elixir to it.
Sam setting up left-hand lane with the Musketeer behind the Royal recruits, and then Skeleton Dragons high, trying to find an opportunity maybe to get past that Barb Hut, but Fireball says no.
Skeleton's just preserving the HP of that, and uh-oh, we got 2 Barb Huts on the board, but Musketeer for Sam going to help out with the first one, and who knows if that'll be saving grace or not.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sam go left-hand lane now with the Barb Hut set up back there. You see him going with the Musketeer behind. Fireball gets the Skeleton Dragons, and Barb Hut is not in cycle for the next, or now it might be back in cycle for the next set of Royal Hogs.
Well, Sam's trying to pour it on at the river here to see if he can bait out any sort of spell. Great log there from Jupiter King, but Musketeer on the tower.
Things very close again, and while the scoreline overall is 4-0 in favor of SK Gaming, they have been a lot of very close games today. This one proven to be very similar. 70 seconds left and only a couple hundred HP separating these two players.
I don't know how Sam is going to create enough pressure with those Royal Hogs right now. With Jupiter King playing so patiently, you know he's got Barb Hut back in cycle. He's not going to carelessly put a Royal Giant down at the river. Uh-oh, we know this is trouble though. High Barb Huts, 7 elixir down and out.
Yeah, Fireball went to the right-hand side, and immediately Sam put the pressure on the left. Jupiter King survives it, but might things be swinging towards Sam here in the final 40?
Sam being maybe a little predictable there with the first Heal Spirit, but the second one in, nothing to stop the RG on the right-hand side. There's the Goblin Cage late.
Royal Giant doing a lot of work, but look at that on the left-hand side. Skeleton Dragon on the tower with the recruit, and just like that, Sam in a big lead, trying to pour it on right now. Barb Hut has to come down with 18 seconds left. This game starting to swing towards the German. Goblin Cage should come out in response to this RG on the right-hand side.
I like that. Oh, and he misses the pull on the Goblin Cage. He was thinking he's maybe going to go 1 tile over to the right. Stops the damage there. Sam sweeps Tribe.
Wow! Sam goes 5-0 on the day, puts a stamp on the league. Everyone watch out, SK Gaming is going for gold.
SK Gaming 5-0 over Tribe, who looked completely unstoppable in the spring, and honestly here so far in the fall as well. SK Gaming, though, not a game given up.
Wow. Absolute wow. OP Sam, OP indeed. And just the little adjustments he made as time went on, I really felt like he was having trouble breaking through. But when you saw, you mentioned it, Andrew, when that high Barb Hut came out on the left, it felt like Jupiter was starting to get in trouble.
I mean, we've just seen it. That's just one of the things that you know if you play with or against Barb Hut, the moment you have to start dropping it up high and making negative trades and hoping that your Barb Huts that spawn after the hut goes down, the Barbarians that spawn after the hut goes down are still going to be a saving grace. That is the definition of a Hail Mary, like if you're doing that over and over. So right here, what I love about this is I was thinking he goes Musketeer tile to the left. He's smarter than I am. He goes Musketeer to the right, so it can help with damage on that Royal Giant that he knew was coming in. Those small decisions make it so that RG doesn't get that last shot. It is a massive, massive choice. He looks into the future there. A lesser player goes, I need the Barb Hut off the board, then I'll deal with the Royal Giant. Sam goes, Barb Hut's gonna come off the board, and I'm gonna take care of the Royal Giant with just 1 card. Javi Catorce, no problem. Sergio Ramos, not gonna see him today. It was all the Germans in Morton and Sam for SK.
You saw the Fireball go to the right-hand side, Andrew, from Jupiter King, and Sam goes, oh, well, you don't have that for my Royal Hogs anymore. Let's pressure that left-hand lane. And he knew he had the most important tool there, the Goblin Cage placement to push the Royal Giant back. Notice how late he waited on 2 Goblin Cages in a row. To the exact last second when he knew he could get that Royal Giant and just push it back half a tile and keep the aggro off that Princess Tower. Just perfect play and perfect recognition of the opening from OP Sam.
And how cerebral of a player Sam is. I'm guaranteed he knew those Royal Hogs were going to bring out the Barb Hut. He wasn't looking to get a tower down. He wasn't looking to get a ton of damage. He was looking to have Jupiter fall way behind an Elixir, because it's the worst thing that can happen in a deck like that. So he goes, Royal Hogs, you're going to overspend on this, and then you're going to be playing for behind for the rest of the game. So I can't imagine Tribe is feeling very good about that showing. A very shocking performance, actually, if you consider the fact that they didn't even take a game.
Yeah, not even a game. And it all comes back to that first one, Andrew. If they win game number 1
Oh,
of
man.
2v2, who knows what's going on? Does Sam sweep in King of the Hill? Do we see the exact opposite direction? Are we going to the 1v1 now after that performance, right? And 11 HP, 1 Goblin Cage changes everything. Guys, that's it for 2 matches. 1 more remains. We'll be back in 5. Don't go anywhere. Match number 6 of the weekend on its way soon. So what we thought would be a collection of fireworks ends up being as quiet as the Black Woods scene that you see here on your screen right now. A quick 5-0 from SK Gaming, a dominant performance over Tribe, and SK takes firm control of the standings, firm control of the lead. And right now, Andrew seems like a favorite to clinch one of those top 2 spots and guarantee themselves a path to World Finals.
I don't know who's going to stop him at this point. It felt like Tribe was kind of, it had been the unstoppable force until we saw playoffs last season. To see SK do what they just did is shocking, but I think it's actually a very good thing. You know, when we were talking last season about Tribe, we kept talking about those championship teams that had made it, you know, in different sports, going perfect through the regular season, and then they either lose in the biggest moment, like the Super Bowl, or usually it would be like in the first game of playoffs. So Tribe now maybe getting a little bit of a check. Not an ego check, because I don't really get any attitude from them, but maybe just a reminder that, look, you gotta stay hungry. You've got a lot of time left. SK just embarrassed us. Let's bounce back next weekend and do exactly what Tribe should, and that's winning too.
Speaking of bouncing back, you have 2 teams that looking to bounce back in different ways. Misfits have yet to find a win, have yet to find their identity on one side. On the other side, AC and RF stumbled mightily in 2v2 yesterday, hoping to get back in form today and get themselves 2 wins on their doubleheader weekend.
Yeah, doubleheader coming through for Spacestation Gaming, looking for that second win. Will RF and AC bounce back? Misfits looking to claim that first W. Let's take a look at what they've done so far this season.
Bueno, un equipo que lleva 3 derrotas no puede hacer nada, pero Spacestation, que tiene su segundo partido de la semana, ¿será que lo remontan? Le dan una ilusión aquí, una esperanza. Lo tenemos ahora mismo. La hubiesen ganado si se hubiesen quedado en una misma línea. GG, well play.
La oportunidad de SSG de salir adelante, de ir con toda la punta. Y Misfits, que lo veo lamentablemente con un solo.
Betis contra Spacestation, acredito que tá sendo mais time e vai afundar ainda mais a Misfits.
Esse chat sempre ajuda a gente aí a fazer mais bonito. Olha o balão, bateu, Decão! E vai bater de novo! Que isso, Decão? Vai levar a torre?
Vai levar a torre.
This is a really tough draw for Misfits, who is a team without an identity. They don't know who they are, switching their 2v2 duo back and forth. The win everyone expected for Tribe in 2v2, and you can see Wings and Air Surfer certainly feeling a little despondent after that performance.
Yeah, and Tribe really...
Last match of the weekend, Misfits and Spacestation. SSG has been pretty darn solid so far this season, although, of course, a little stumble in 2v2 yesterday. We'll see if they get back on track, and they have a good opening against a Misfits squad, Andrew, that doesn't seem to know what it wants to do in 2v2.
Yeah, I agree. Last time we saw Air Surfer and Wings come out. We'll see if we see that again today, but they started the season off with Bob the Rock and Schwarzen, originally the 2 rookies in the 2v2 set. I'm assuming they might go back to Air Surfer and Wings just because it didn't feel like they got enough chances out there, but so far Misfits has only won 1 set, and they need to pick up 2 more today.
Yeah, that's going to be a difficult job against Spacestation Gaming, AC and RF, the long-standing 2v2 duo, and then Lapacati and Samuel, their 2 head-to-head stars. It seems like even if you get past them in 2v2, then you're going, okay, well, I have to beat Lapo, Samuel, and RF and King of the Hill. Good luck to anyone making it there.
Yeah, and this is a big moment, I think, for Oddcrap and the God RF. In history, would have never even thought that you'd replace someone next to the God RF in the 2v2 set, but Lapacati and him were undefeated in sets. This is a big day for AC to prove that this is actually the best duo while they're banning Giant Skeleton. On the other side of it, Air Surfer and Wings going to get another chance today, banning Tornado once again. So Bob the Rock and Schwarzen will both be showing up in head-to-head play today.
Let's jump on into it. It will be Spacestation Gaming, top of your screen. Misfits, Air Surfer, and Wings at the bottom. And Andrew, you know that Trainer Luis does not want to replace AC in 2v2 for a wide variety of reasons. Not just their long-time relationship and friendship, but also because having AC in 2v2 takes so much pressure off the team from a preparation standpoint. Let's Lapacati focus on King of the Hill and or 1v1. if AC can't get it going here, it does put Spacestation in a tough spot from a week-by-week preparation standpoint.
Yeah, I don't think they want to move Lapacati back into 2v2 because AC will be doing so well there. And, you know, you talk about the friendship and the chemistry, that's a big part of success. And I think having Crap on the squad is a huge, huge integral part of that equation.
I'd be surprised if they don't have some of those kinks ironed out today. Here we go, Air Surfer's Wings and Air Surfer and Wings of Misfits going. I was like, Air Surfer's like, wait, that's not the name of the team. And they get a big chunk of damage on the left-hand side.
Yeah, they really do. And those Skeleton Dragons going to have to pull out a little bit more elixir from their opponents, not getting what they want. RF and AC looking out of sorts.
Almost past the first minute 30 here, and that's a ton of damage on the left-hand side. 998 remaining. And Andrew, you talk about out of sorts. It just doesn't seem to make sense here. Sort of the strange moments we've been seeing so far out of these two.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to put it and kind of sum it up, is it doesn't really make sense. So here we go. Double Lava Hound push on the left-hand side, but they're going to have to get something down to stop this 3 crown. Lava Hound's really easy to keep at bay, so let's see what their plan is here. Oh my goodness. This is going to be a 3 crown, dude. This is
crazy.
Yeah, this is just bad plays from Spacestation Gaming.
What? Why do you go second Lava Hound there?
What is the...
You and I are both absolutely stunned. You just spent 7 elixir in the opposite lane when you have a Lumberjack, a Musketeer, and a Royal Giant on the opposite side.
And let's not forget...
I don't know what's going on
The 2
there.
Skeleton Dragons. I don't know. I don't know. And you see right now, AC and RF, obviously not happy about it, but there needs to be more communication going on or something. I mean, 14 elixir dropped. When you look at what's on the other side of the map, there's no excuse for it.
Yeah, I mean, you do not have the defensive elixir to stop this. And there you go. Musketeer gets behind. The Flying Machine is going to get fireballed off. This was
a great
really strange.
Yeah, a great heal spirit. And like you said, Fire Machine fireballed off because it's lined up perfectly with the King and Baby Dragon. Another fireball comes in, and on the right-hand side, first of all, we don't even know what Misfits has to defend, and you know, we see now that they didn't have any buildings if they were needed, but they didn't need them. They knew that those Lava Hounds do so little damage, such slow DPS, that they can just commit to the 3. I don't know, man. I'm at a loss for words right now. I'm kind of bothered by it.
Yeah, I kind of want to see the that Lava Hound drop again, because I can't tell, and I wasn't watching their faces, whether that was an intentional 2 Lava Hounds and try to sack tower and go, or whether the second Lava Hound was a mistake and someone said Lava Hound and they both went Lava Hound as opposed to one Lava-ing and one playing defense.
I mean, I hope that's the case because they know the game well enough to know that 14 elixir spent offensively when they have 20 elixir coming on the other side is never a good decision. So let's just say for their sake it was a miscommunication and a double drop. But that's 3 games of miscommunications now in a row when you take it out a guy that was perfect with RF before.
Yeah, I mean, you wonder if maybe you put the 2 guys in different rooms because Lapo and RF playing with outcoms worked out so well. Maybe you got to do the same thing here with AC and RF and they just play the drag game.
I mean, these are 2 of our favorite players and one of our favorite teams ever since they were Immortals and now into Spacestation Gaming, and I think that's why we can be so frankly honest here. That was just bad, and I don't want to see it again here. I don't know what they're going to do in game number 2. The one thing that we can hold on to for Spacestation Gaming is they've been in this position many, many times before. They've known to reverse sweep in the 2v2 set. So let's hope they can reset right now and come back out in game 2. Congratulations, though, to Air Surfer and Wings. Great play.
Yeah, big win. They capitalized, and they saw the opening and doubled down on it. Huge. And again, I don't know who picked Air Surfer and Wings for their fantasy lineup, but that's a quick 6 that you just got from the 2.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
One person is like, bro, I'm a genius.
It's that guy in first place. It's impossible to understand how he has so many crowns.
Just some light spell cycle here to open up. You see everyone kind of just sitting quiet. Looks like Air Surfer's playing by candlelight, apparently.
A little bit of laughing coming out here, so still in somewhat good spirits as the God RF. AC, though, does look a little bit more stressed out than regular.
And Mega Knight down to the left-hand side here for Misfits. Musketeer behind, 3-3 split with a Muskie for Space Station.
Space Station most likely going to go with Royal Hogs here.
That's a good job to pull the Mega Knight in and keep the recruits on the board a little bit longer.
Yep, I like the Musketeer played offset to the right, so it helps with the Baby Dragon. Nice start here for Space Station.
And the Fisherman does not quite get ahead of the Space Station Gaming Musketeer, so no significant blows as of yet.
Skeletons, no, gonna go Heal Spirit.
And banking a little bit right now is AC and RF. Feeling like maybe it's Balloon from Space Station.
Yeah.
Lumberjack, Double Muskie, and the Royal Recruits. And nice job getting the Snowball on tower and pushing that Goblin Brawler into the same lane as their Brawler, so they don't have to spend a little extra elixir on the back end defensively.
Nice poison value there for Misfits. And a decent amount of healthy units coming down the right-hand side of the board.
And here we go. It's the Balloon Graveyard combo. And so far, the Balloon pretty much untouched up there. The Princess Tower, though, does aggro the Balloon, tanking for the Graveyard for quite a long time. Freeze, though, not going to get played in this first big push for Space Station.
Frustrating set of interactions there for Misfits. The Musketeer not able to focus on the Balloon getting tanked for by the Skeletons and then trading off. Gets a lot of damage in on that right-hand tower for Space Station Gaming.
Free Heal Spirit there for the log. As we go into sudden death overtime, it is Space Station Gaming with a pretty significant lead and a lot of elixir on the board.
Yeah, not seeing a building, though, out of Misfits yet. Does feel like Space Station should continue to be able to just pile stuff on at the river and then sneak the Balloon in behind. We'll see if Misfits can kind of adjust and make them play their game.
And here we go, Graveyard in for Misfits. High freeze to play defense from Space Station.
Yeah, high freeze, double Musketeer, so going to get some good value here. Luckily for Space Station, the first Musketeer walks out. Hill Spirit going to go down, though.
Goblin Cage should be in cycle, so you see Space Station not pulling the trigger on the Balloon without the proper full setup, instead going to the back with the 6-man 3-3 split one more time.
The Misfits going to need to find a way to vary up how they've been playing defense because it just hasn't been paying off for them. Mega Knight gets pulled across with that Lumberjack and the leap, so going to be taken for those Skeletons.
DPS takes it off pretty quickly, though. Graveyard getting a decent amount of damage in. Baby Dragon does get stopped just in time, and now a Balloon Graveyard push going to the right-hand side for Space Station.
Fireball comes down on the left-hand side, and we see that the Graveyard is in for Misfits. A lot of good damage in on that right-hand tower, or left-hand tower.
Yeah, a lot of damage here. Suddenly the lead for Space Station absolutely evaporates, and now they're trying to put pressure on, but you see the Mega Knight set up to the left-hand side. We'll see if Misfits can survive this and get good pressure on that left-hand tower.
Graveyard in here. Baby Dragon plus Poison to defend, but still Skeletons get to the tower. Now a late Balloon. Graveyard the other way. Who's going to win the base race?
Snowball gonna hold off on that Balloon, and right now Musketeer more than up to the task on defense. Final 15 seconds. It looks like Space Station Gaming will survive the scary moments here, but a Graveyard push, no, they do pick up the Mega Knight high. GG, well played. We're going to game number 3. AC and RF get back and forth.
Yeah, AC and RF picking up that much needed W. You see RF there AC dropping his head, and a sigh of relief comes out. An odd cycled log on the side of Misfits map there at the very end, just maybe getting a little overwhelmed with all the things going on the board, but I don't think that log would have changed the tale of what we just saw. 1-1 going into game 3.
Yeah, it was interesting. You saw a pretty good opportunity for Misfits with the Mega Knight into the tanking for the Graveyard on the left-hand side, but able to get it off the board and defend the Graveyard with just the Musketeer. Very inexpensive defense comparatively for Space Station Gaming, and then Misfits not able to keep up with the pressure.
Yeah, just they didn't have a lot of ways to redirect the balloon as long as they'd like. We know that Goblin Cage doesn't have a lot of HP to it, and then the Musketeers being single target DPS to focus on the balloon. When you've got a 6-man up front, a Dark Prince there, it just makes it really difficult to focus any of that air pressure onto the balloon specifically. And you saw that that opening balloon drop was really kind of the reason that this game went to Space Station.
And you see that Mega Knight is tanking, but not tanking long enough and maybe a little bit unlucky there. So you see the log does get played on defense against the Graveyard as well. Doesn't matter. Significant lead for Space Station on the right-hand side, and they do get themselves back into the winners column and set us up for game number 3.
Now that cycled log, it almost felt like it was like, this game is over, I'm just going to cycle a log, but then they did throw another Graveyard down in the top right-hand side, so I think it was just a little bit of a small finger slip there. Misfits just not able to put up the offense they need because they weren't able to defend the big push coming in, which were those balloons. So it becomes a question of, is Goblin Cage the correct one building to have in 2v2? With how much Balloon and Royal Giant are being played right now, is it enough?
Well, we saw Goblin Cage work out for Royal Giant in head-to-head
Yes.
play earlier today, but in 2v2, it just seems with how popular specifically this Graveyard Balloon deck is right now, that Goblin Cage, maybe because of the fact doesn't give the same defensive ability against either one of those two, whether it be the bombs helping clean up troops on the ground, or whether it be something burning off and be like an Inferno Tower working against that balloon. It does feel like maybe it's a little bit out of play for this current popular deck in the meta.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's like a Bomb Tower, Inferno Tower meta that we should be shifting towards. So let's see here in game number 3 if either squad throws one of those buildings in to help with their defense, because as we said, Graveyard and Balloon and the two of them together have been so popular.
Looking like it might be double bait here for Misfits, going with the Skeleton Barrel early, taken care of by the Bats, and the Spear Goblins. Miner on the tower left-hand side, first blood drawn by Space Station.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe Misfits saw that Space Station had trouble keeping up with double bait yesterday after they had run it. You know, when Chivas ran it back-to-back, they ended up having much more success than AC and RF did. Maybe Misfits saw something there that they liked.
This is a pretty fast deck out of Space Station, though, going with Miner Wall Breakers. So, you know, keeping up pace-wise, I don't know if that'll be an issue. I'm curious about how they contend with these Mega Knights as time goes on.
Yeah, the Mega Knight is a really, really frustrating card, and if you look, there's a lot of splash units or kind of weaker units in that Musketeer on the board. The Knight is the true tank for Space Station at the moment.
And we don't see a ton of Bats in the game right now, especially not in 2v2, but look at this, Bats pulling double duty, putting pressure on offense, getting a ton of DPS down now in 2 sequences on defense.
Yeah, I was actually going to speak a little bit about the Bats earlier because we saw them come out a couple times in our first match, I believe, and they just kind of get absorbed or eaten alive by that Heal Spirit, and Heal Spirit's in so many decks. I'm curious if we'll start to see more minions again.
It'll be very curious, and there you go, Bomb Tower taking care of the Spear Goblins, and after that last game, you see maybe Misfits thinking the same thing as we were, Goblin Cage out, Bomb Tower in.
Yeah, Bomb Tower and Inferno just really seem like the way to go right now because obviously the single target damage from the Inferno and the HP that it has for the Royal Giant, Balloon, Lava Hound, but then the Bomb Tower back in because the 6-man has become so popular, as has these bait cards.
Here we go, final minute of regulation play, double elixir on its way. Miner goes to the back, Skeletons with the log combination stop the wall breakers, but Miner still going to do a ton of work on the left-hand side. No NATO because of the bans, so 1656 remains on the left-hand tower for Misfits.
And this is what I like to see more of from Awcrap and the God RF. You know, if you want to talk about certain 2v2 duos going to their bread and butter, we talk about Tribe being innovative, we talk about Sam and Morton and their double bait deck, but AC and RF have always done really great with Spell Cycle and Minor Cycle decks.
And this Inferno Tower could be huge in this matchup. Control the Mega Knights, burn them off. You know, we're talking about those buildings, Andrew. We just mentioned Inferno Tower and Bomb Tower both making their appearances
Yeah,
here.
I like that. I like that. I like that we're on the same page as them because it does feel like that last game was lost because of the Goblin Cage. Both of those, one of them connects.
Big time connection. This deck cycles very quickly for Space Station Gaming, so back to another Inferno Tower very quickly. Snowball makes sure the burn gets onto that Mega Knight. and right now it is Spacestation in control.
Yeah, Spacestation, though, going to need to do a little bit of min-maxing, as we talked about, to get more pressure on this left-hand side, maybe take a little bit more damage on the right because they have that 600 HP lead, because they're having a difficult time getting through other than with their miners right now.
Well, that's the one thing about a deck like this that has Miner, Wall Breakers, and Skeleton Barrel is every single thing is designed to pull out some possible defensive options so you don't get one, hey, I'm not able to break through with Skeleton Barrels. Fine, I'll switch to Miners. I can't get Wall Breakers on. Let's see how the Skeleton Barrel does. And so we go from one bait archetype to another, Spacestation Gaming with the lead with 80 seconds left.
Really nice bomb tower there. That's going to be a great, positive trade. And Miner going to come in probably now. There it is.
This time Miner goes to the back. Mega Knight does come down, but gives 2 shots up to the Miner, 981 to 1489.
Yeah,
lead for Spacestation Gaming in triple.
Yeah, Fisherman distracted by the opposing lane's Fisherman, and a really nice couple Miner shots in there for Akrap and the God RF. However, on the right-hand side, they're starting to get a little bit overwhelmed by this bait.
They should have what they need in cycle for this one, and they do hold on. Poison will get value on the right-hand side, but the bait starting to pile, and a double drop with the Knight.
Yeah, double drop with the Knight. Skeleton Barrel will pop on tower, clean up the bats. Wall Breakers double drop with Spear Goblins as well. Spacestation Gaming is throwing Elixir away.
Trying to hold on the best they can, snowball in, and now that's going to be the lead for Misfits. Miner goes and gets picked up easily by that Fisherman. Poison on one side. We are in a race here, Andrew.
Look, that Miner has gone to those 2 spots like 4 times in a row. Log's going to come in to help with the Wall Breakers. Double Barrel is going to come in. Fireball down, Snowball in. Do they get it? They do not.
Space Station holds on by a hair. You see AC pumped up, and RF just sits back like he knew it was always going to happen.
Yeah, and that was a big win for Space Station Gaming. I'd say maybe one of the most important 2v2 sets they've ever played, just because you can see, I don't know if I've ever seen Akrap as relieved as he is right now after squeezing out of a 2v2 set. He knew that it was trouble for his future. It spelled nothing but trouble for his future if he did not perform well in that second game. He was dialed in, and they pulled it out. Very nicely played. Wings and Air Surfer, though, 2 and 4 in their last 2 appearances in this 2v2 set, and they did a really great job at the end there. Probably should have even taken it, but they just are not able to close out.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. They did a great job. If I'm Wings and Air Surfer, I feel overall good about this performance, but like we talked about beforehand, it just feels like there's a lack of identity for this Misfits squad.
Yeah, and you see right here, there's just a couple of plays. I mean, even early on, I feel like that Dark Goblin could have done enough cleanup against the Skeleton Barrel, and maybe they could have poured a little bit more here on the offensive side. There was this moment where, I guess it's not here, there was like a double barrel drop that just gave too much log value later on in the game. And the one thing that we see from Space Station is they keep double and triple dropping in defense, and Misfits was not able to really capitalize on that the way they should have.
Well, what Space Station did very well here in the late moments is they were using troops to deal with the Skeleton Barrel so that they could put spells on the Goblin Barrel the best they could, right? And when you're up against this double bait deck, this archetype, I mean quadruple bait deck, you have to find ways to defend that do not involve your small spells. They got it done, won the spell cycle game in the end, and a lot of that is because of the slight adjustments, knowing how to defend against the 1, 2, 3, 4 push from those Skeleton Goblin
Yeah,
barrels.
you don't need to kill the Goblins, you just need to distract them sometimes. So that's why you'll see, like, you know, what you saw there with Spear Goblins and, you know, the Wall Breakers. The only thing they could have done differently is maybe front and back it, but all that stuff is happening so quickly. Still comes out with the win by just a little bit of HP. And now Misfits, once again, walking into the second set down, and they're going to probably come out with Air Surfer. We didn't see, actually, you know what? Stop talking, Andrew. Why didn't we see Wings in the last King of the Hill?
Yeah, very curious about that in terms of Wings not playing King of the Hills. I don't know what the story is there. Maybe it's trying to get the other 2 players into the mix. It's a little bit surprising here that Wings, as one of the greatest King of the Hill players in the history of the game, not making his appearances in the set that we expect to see him in, especially now when you're talking about a Misfits squad that is 0-4 in 2v2 sets.
I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. The only time that they showed any like little bit of hope there was by a great performance in King of the Hill, but then they got 0-2'd by Lucas in that 1v1 set. So you keep saying struggle to find an identity. I don't think there's really a better way to put it into words. I just don't know at all, and I don't think they know who should be where, who's the best at what, why isn't it working, what isn't working, what will work. All these questions I'm sure they ask themselves after every match, and I don't think they have a lot of answers.
Yeah, and you talk about answers. On the other side of it, Spacestation clearly does know their identity. They have always known it, and maybe a bit of a scare there with the first match of the weekend with AC and RF being off kilter and carried through to game number 1. But this is exactly what Spacestation wants. They want AC and RF to go out and do what they do in 2v2 and set up one of the most dangerous King of the Hill rosters in the history of CRL to go pull it out in set number 2.
So here we go. King of the Hill, game number 1. The God RF going up against Misfits, Air Surfer. And this is the lineup I want to see from Misfits. I want to see Air Surfer, Wings, and Schwarzen. That's what it should be.
RF going with Hog Cycle, probably going to be triple spell here against Air Surfer. Air Surfer looking like it might be Graveyard.
And 3 hits in. Really nice Hog Rider to open up.
Now, how does he stop this Graveyard, though? Musketeer to the outside, Log, and you know that there's unlikely to be a poison on the spot where the skeletons came out, so RF able to survive, but does give up the lead, although ahead by about half an elixir.
Yeah, really frustrating there when you get your Knight played just a little bit too low, or I guess in this case high, so it goes back, stays too close to the Princess Tower, gives all that splash damage, and then is kind of a tank, but kind of is helping your opponent.
First minute away, and at the moment it is Air Surfer with the lead. Just by a little over 200 HP. RF really wants to, this is a deck, this deck from RF is a defensive Hog Cycle deck. It really is. It's one that, you think about Hog Cycle of trying to get back to Hogs, put pressure on. This one plays defense a ton, but it's a scary situation up against a Graveyard deck that gets more and more powerful the closer you get the triple.
Yeah, and I like RF playing defensive decks. I really, really do. From someone that played Graveyard for so long and was so successful with it, that's the exact type of thing you want to do, is someone that knows how to play the best defense and then squeeze in that little bit of offense when you're low on elixir. So RF right now trying to extend or continue this incredible run he's had in 2020 in the fall. 6-1 in King of the Hill at an 86% win rate.
1,300 to 14-18. Barbaro puts a little bit more pressure on. Hog gets the pull. Perfect Hog, perfect EQ. RF playing a great game right now in a tough spot.
I mean, he's a guy that's come off 2 King of the Hill sweeps already, sweeping Pompeo, Adrian, and Diego yesterday. And then, of course, in their first match, taking out Vitor, Wallace, and Lucas.
Graveyard poison in. Musketeer going to sit inside that poison. Hog Rider goes for the distraction on the Baby Dragon. Not back for Earthquake. Snowball going to try to make room here, but the Brawler Skeletons do stop the Hog from connecting.
Yeah, I like that attempt with the Snowball there, but Skeletons come in. Nice adjustment there from Air Surfer, or response more so.
And you see the Muskie played early and high this time, doing his best to not give poison value as RF. Obviously knows this matchup from both sides fairly well. Knows the difficult situation he's in, and now going to give poison value for this Musketeer.
Yeah, it's a really, really tough spot to be in for RF. I mean, how many times can you really play the Musketeer that up high and then not get it taken out at the river and then not have it in cycle to actually support the next Graveyard push that comes in? So you see there, he does exactly what he has to do, and he's just stuck. He's just stuck in this cycle of getting poisoned out.
We're going to get the Musketeer off. This is good here. It's going to go Night Hog, I believe. Musketeer high, just trying to set the line and not let a tank through. Do his absolute best not to give one good Graveyard push, because Air Surfer does not want to start poison cycling yet, but here comes the Graveyard push, and that should be a good game, well played. Air Surfer should take game number 1, although putting on a run right now. Nope, Hog won't get through. Misfits wins game 1 of King of the Hill and stops the train that is RF.
That's a big win for Air Surfer to get RF out of the way and on the bench for the rest of the day. He's one of those guys that, yes, he's a 2v2 player, and yes, that's his bread and butter, but he has come out and done so much work for so many seasons consistently in the King of the Hill set. That's a big guy to get off your lineup.
Air Surfer getting his second win in King of the Hill of the season, moves his King of the Hill record to 2-3. Akrap falls in this one, a 6-2 record on the season, of course, with those 2 big-time King of the Hill sweeps.
Yeah, that is now putting him at 3-3, dead even, it looks like, King of the Hill here for Air Surfer. And this is one of the moments we were talking about. This is just kind of being stuck in the cycle he was in over and over, and you saw him kind of put up these battles at the bridge to see if he could stop or hold the line, as you said, but he's just not able to do it. Cycles too quickly. Musketeer comes back down. This bomb tower being played in this spot is kind of one of his only responses, because if he plays the Knight there, it keeps walking back in the skeletons and giving splash damage. So just a tough matchup there for the God RF.
So RF down, but no worries for Spacestation, because they do have 2 monsters waiting in the wings. After that, of course, Lapacati and Samuel Basoto. This time, it's going to be Samuel in the number 2 spot rather than Lapo going up against Air Surfer.
Yeah, Lapacati and Samuel not showing their faces yesterday because so much was done by, Lapacati not showing his face yesterday, or Samuel in the King of the Hill, just because so much was done by the God RF. So Samuel came out, true form in that 1v1 set, played very, very nicely, but Lapo making his first appearance this weekend.
Yeah, this will be interesting to see if we do get there. Of course, Samuel could go ahead and clutch up, has game number 2 on his way against Air Surfer, and of course, Samuel has been one of the greats of the game, 4 times number 1 on ladder, and we've said before, over 30 top 10 finishes, which is absolutely mind-blowing.
And I actually really like moving Samuel into the 2nd spot. It gives them the opportunity to decide if they want to stick with Samuel or Lapo based off how Samuel feels in the King of the Hill in that 1v1 position. And I think also it allows Samuel to take a little bit of a break if he does lose in King of the Hill, to reset before he goes to 1v1.
Mortar Skeleton Barrel are looking like here for Air Surfer, and looking like 6 Loon for Samuel.
Yeah, I don't love this matchup, but it's definitely not unwinnable for Mortar.
Good control here from the Knight, trying to drag that Lumberjack into Musketeer range, and we'll get some raged up recruits on the right-hand side, so while well defended overall by Air Surfer, does give up the lead as the first minute of gameplay passes.
Yeah, that Fisherman pulling the Musketeer away that was helping out on the right-hand side was all that damage, so really, really nice Fisherman there from Samuel.
And a good snowball out of Samuel as well, gets the Musketeer down just in time to control the Mortar.
Yeah, kind of.
Although will be up behind on Elixir, though.
Yeah, felt like he was looking into the mind of his opponent there for a minute, knowing the Mortar was going to come down.
Halfway through the regulation period, and so far, it is still a lead for Air Surfer. Samuel going to have to go ahead and eat some of that drop damage consistently in this matchup, unless he starts putting air damage on the Skeleton Barrel as it comes through.
Which I think we'll probably start to see when we get into double. I can't imagine he's going to just keep sacrificing that damage, because not only does it mean that you take the drop damage, but it also means you have to drop something else on top of the skeletons that spawn.
A lot of pressure coming in on behalf of Air Surfer. Snowball to clean things up, and you see now Snowball not going to be in cycle for the next Skeleton Barrel unless Samuel gets around very quickly. And you just spent 7 on recruits, so not as quickly as you might like.
Oh, and that Mortar is off in no man's land. Should be enough here with the help. Oh, Musketeer faces the recruit.
Air Surfer annoyed there, giving up the death damage, but will get death damage on the opposite side. Heal Spirit jumps at the wrong time, and that is a massive chunk of damage. Tower now in fireball range. Air Surfer should walk away with this one.
Air Surfer doing one of the things that he was recruited for, which is bring the pain to your opponent in that 1v1 set, and he has played this really, really nicely.
Oh, and the Musketeer takes the Fisherman out. Easily defended. GG, well played. Air Surfer with a big sigh of relief and a big 2-0 to start off today's King of the Hill.
This is what Air Surfer needs. You know, he's nice enough to let me be his friend in game, and I saw him grinding away all morning since we started doing rehearsals this morning. He's been grinding and grinding and grinding, and I know that he's feeling a little bit of redemption and vindication right now for someone that struggled so much in the earlier weeks. This is what you expect out of Air Surfer.
Moving his King of the Hill record to an even 3-3 now is Air Surfer. Samuel Basoto falls down to 0-2 in King of the Hill and 2-5 overall in head-to-head play.
Yeah, you know, Sam had a good showing yesterday, 2-1 versus Adrian, but, you know, even the God RF said on Twitter, you know, good to have you back, Samuel. And look, Sam is just not quite playing to the caliber that you expect from him. I don't see Trainer Luis freaking out at all yet, but there's definitely something to be said about some of the decisions that have been made by Samuel.
And this was interesting. You really felt like there might have been an opening with that mortar, but easily controlled with the Fireball Musketeer. And Air Surfer was upset he didn't keep the Fireball, or didn't keep the balloon all the way off. Well, don't be too upset there, buddy, because Skeleton Barrel comes right on through, and really, it was so difficult for Samuel to control those skeletons.
Yeah, you know, Samuel had that misplayed graveyard in his first game, so you kind of wanted to give him a pass there. This moment was a weird moment for me because it almost felt like pride was the reason he lost, because he dropped that Heal Spirit to take care of the barrel. He had 8 Elixir in his hand, and he just ate the entire barrel in late drops of Lumberjack. Maybe it was lag, maybe it was something, or maybe he was just caught looking. I just was a little surprised to see him eat that much damage because he had committed 1 Elixir to solving the problem. The problem didn't get solved, but he still had a full tank of gas.
Yeah, it was curious because he kept on playing the snowball on the other bait aspects, right? On the Spear Goblins, on the Goblin Gang, and not having the snowball for the one thing that is going to do the most damage to your tower, which is the Skeleton Barrel. Tried to go some other way around it, didn't get it done, and now we're down to the last man standing in King of the Hill. Lapakati up next for Space Station.
Yeah, Lapakati already got a smile on his face, which means he's in a good mood, so he should be playing pretty well today. Misfits Air Surfer, locked in, dialed in, knows that his team needs this win.
And look like it's going to be minor wall breakers for Lapakati. Air Surfer going with minor control here, maybe. So Mortar, Minor, Valk, which was a little bit more popular a couple of months ago.
Yeah, usually Musketeer will be in there as well. Poison sometimes, but we'll see if you swap that out for Fireball. And Skeletons can be traded for Goblins.
And Air Surfer has always been a good cycle player and, of course, a very good Expo player, but you love seeing anyone go Mortar against one of the Mortar crew, whether it be Igor or Lapakati.
So Lapo going to maybe reset here. Yep, it hits 10, goes in with the Minor.
And both players now knowing that those Miners can go absolutely anywhere. Air Surfer going to the number 3 spot on defense with the Valk. That time Lapo went to the back.
Yeah, both of them have good ways to pick up the Minor for very cheap, but at the sacrifice of those units no longer being on the board in the Spear Goblins and the Skeletons. And
very interesting choice there. Air Surfer choosing to take care of the Musketeer and eat the wall breaker damage.
Yeah, I don't think that's actually the correct decision there. Maybe he looked ahead in what was coming up next, which you and I cannot see, and was like, this is definitely the best choice. I'm going to have to eat a little bit of damage, but I just don't imagine that's the case.
Minor taken care of, but even trade, 3 for 3. And Air Surfer throws that right into the Knight that was cycled early.
Unsupported wall breakers are just going to keep going for that even trade now, but the Spear Goblins should be able to get a little bit more value.
Minor Fireball in, do not get some of the bats, but tower damage in, and now the Mortar comes down for Air Surfer. 35 seconds left in regulation time, and it's Air Surfer putting the pressure on Lapakati.
Yeah, Air Surfer's been getting really good fireball value every single time a Musketeer comes down for Lapo, and that's been one of the things that I can tell by Lapo's reaction he's frustrated by.
And choosing to eat the damage does Air Surfer on the left-hand side. Not worried about that tower right now, knowing that HP is a resource in many moments.
And it feels like Air Surfer might need to start varying up his Minor positioning. Ooh, nice hit there with the Mortar from the Knight. That's one of the ones that hurts.
Yeah, you get the catch on the Minor, and then you feel like, hey, this is going to be okay, but Knight just walks right on by, and now more and more danger for Lapakati. Air Surfer very close to a King of the Hill sweep.
Yeah, it's really, really feeling like it. I can't imagine he makes many more mental mistakes here to give that much space to Lapakati, and plus the way that Lapo's got to do a lot of damage with a very difficult way of getting there.
A good pull with the Miner to try to bring the Valkyrie out of range and get the Musketeer on tower. Doesn't happen, though. And now pushing the opposite lane, Fireball to the right-hand side, 182. Log Fireball will get it done for Air Surfer.
Yeah, Air Surfer just working around as quick as he can. Lapo gonna have to respond to this Valkyrie. That's gonna do it. Game over. Well played. Space Station Gaming not able to pick up one in King of the Hill.
Huge King of the Hill sweep for Air Surfer. So we have the reverse sweep in 2v2 for Space Station, and Air Surfer says, guys, I'm not a 2v2 player. I'm a King of the Hill master. Let's go.
Yeah, but this is where the problems start to arise, I believe, for Misfits. Thinking, you know, having Wings and Air Surfer in their first 2 sets not available for 1v1, I think you want to close out the match in those first 2. Now, I imagine it's going to be Schwarzen versus Samuel Basoto, unless Sam doesn't want to play and Lapacati comes back out. But either way, I give the advantage to Space Station Gaming in either of those matchups. So this is the tough part about not having Air Surfer available for the 3rd set.
You know, I think you go Lapacati here just from a mentality standpoint. Samuel's been making mistakes a little bit. And I play the nerves game. I play the idea that Schwarzen's going to be nervous in this spot, and Lapacati, when you're looking at Lapo or Samuel, Lapo's going to be the one who has the strongest mentality right now. If I'm Trainer Luis, I'm sending Lapacati out here and trying to take advantage of the nerves of the road.
150%. I couldn't agree more. You hit all the exact points that I think are the most critical in deciding who comes in these moments. And this is just one of those nice cheap defenses with the skeletons on the left. You get the mortar connection on the right. The knight takes a step back towards the miner, then a step forward towards the tower. Mortar connects, and anytime you get one tower hit with a mortar, you feel good about it. You feel like it's success. The other thing was that Air Surfer used those fireballs so brilliantly. He was fireball cycling for over a minute. And to be able to do that and control the game against minor wall breakers, first of all, it's a testament to the matchup, but also to the patience of Air Surfer.
Lapo was just in a tough spot defensively where the Musketeer ended up having to do things on defense that maybe he didn't want it to do, didn't want to be in certain places. And of course, that fireball was just hungry for Musketeer blood over and over again. And now that sets up a King of the Hill, or sets up a 1v1 where Schwarzen, if we're assuming it's Schwarzen, whether it's Schwarzen or Bob, but Schwarzen is our guess here, didn't have to burn any decks going into it. So it does protect him a little bit. Curious to see if he is the one who does come out for the 1v1.
Yeah, I think it will be Schwarzen, and I love your call on Lapacati. I think Samuel's just playing a little off right now. I think he takes a seat. Lapacati comes back out. He's on my fantasy lineup. Win, win, win for everyone. It's just going to be about Schwarzen's nerves here. He did so many incredible things in the offseason that he's a guy that could do this for Misfits.
Here we go, 1v1. It will be Schwarzen and Lapo. And Andrew, if I'm Space Station Gaming, I play anything other than a deck that gets hurt by Barb Hut. And we see Goblin Cage this time around, but oh, and Lapo going Barb Hut himself.
Maybe that was his thought. He goes, all right, you're going to run Barb Hut, I'm going to run Barb Hut. But Schwarzen switches things up.
And Schwarzen might be going Royal Giant here, which would be a really good situation for Lapo.
Feeling more and more like it.
Musketeer cycled in the back for the Belarusian. Lapacati is also part of the top-tier ladder crew out of the Space Station Gaming squad. 2-time #1, 7 finishes in the top 3.
6 elixir to deal with this massive push coming in. 1 Royal Hog squeaks by. Skeleton Dragon's going to help clean up this Goblin Brawler. And I get the idea, the same thing that happened in the 2v2 when they fireball those Skeleton Dragons. I get the idea of wanting to lightning the tower and the Musketeer, but in single elixir in CRL, I've never really seen a move that aggressive pay off in single elixir.
Yeah, single does make it challenging, and you see the idea he's going for. Now, how does he get value out of that lightning as time goes on? That's going to be really important, but right now he's behind on elixir on the board. You have a very healthy Barb Hut. It's going to keep on pressuring, and Lapo still has one in the hole by comparison.
Yeah, so Schwarzen going to maybe need to be a little bit more conservative here in single. There's only 13 seconds left, but a big lead for his opponent in Lapacati, and we all know what these Barb Hut players want to do as this game goes on, and that's get more of them on the board.
Lapacati took second place in the CWA Cup earlier this year. Losing in that final to, oh yeah, his teammate, the God RF.
There's the lightning value you want to get. Barb Hut, Musketeer, Princess Tower. Feels good, doesn't it?
1667 on the left-hand side for Schwarzen to the 2006 for Lapacati.
And I also...
And the Heel Spirit leaps over the log.
All right, so Barb Hut going to come down here, and what I was going to say is the next time Lapacati has his Barb Hut in cycle and he's feeling okay, I think he actually cycles it to the opposite lane. It will open up for the Royal Giant to come in, but if he can actually get true dual lane pressure with this Royal Giant, or with these Royal Hogs deck, I think that could really help against this Lightning.
And you see the Musketeer come down exactly after the Lightning gets played and sets up to this same lane one more time.
Lapacati in the lead, but definitely looking a bit frustrated, trying to figure out how on earth he's going to hold on to that lead for this next 2 minutes.
That or he's just trying to blow the hair out of his face. That Musketeer's lightning bait, and there you go, you'll see it. An immediate play the opposite lane, so baits out the lightning and then sends 11 elixir the opposite lane as quickly as he can. Or 10 elixir.
Yeah, I like that. I like that play. He gets a lot of good damage out of it, but the problem is he's left wanting defensively, so that Baby Dragon ends up getting a big connection in. Now that Musketeer's pulled up, so he has to go back to offense, and this is actually a really nice offensive push because of where the Musketeer is.
Barb Barrel does take the Heel Spirit out, but doesn't matter. 844, and the Musketeer, goes to the Baby Dragon rather than the Tau.
844 to 12-12. There's the Barb Hut to stop this. Baby Dragon taking for that Royal Giant. Actually kind of what Lapacati wants at this moment. He wants that Baby Dragon off the board because of the splash damage, and now Schwarzen would be a fool to Lightning.
Yeah, he couldn't do it there. You know he wanted to, doesn't pull the trigger. Fireball in to clean up some of that Baby Dragon. And the Heel Spirit this time does work for Lapo. Can the Musketeer survive? No, it doesn't.
Yeah, nice little jump there over the log here. Barb Hut back down in defense, and there's the Musketeer. No lightning again until now. Schwarzen goes back on it.
Ooh, but the Lightning doesn't get the Barb Hut, instead it gets one Barb, so rough go there for Schwarzen, and now a massive push, Musketeer high, trying to help with the Goblin Cage, gets distracted, and there you go, gets it off.
I'm a little surprised we didn't see a pre-fireball there out of Lapacati to hit the Princess Tower, the Goblin Cage, and whatever unit would be dropped in between. It would have actually taken care of that E-Wiz. There's the fireball that I'm actually talking about.
Wow. This Musketeer just won't go down. That's still the same Musketeer, Andrew. Still on there. The board, pressure down. Fireball will finish it off. GG, well played. Lapo battles back in game number 1.
And that Musketeer, just as you were celebrating her victory there, she gets a nice little Heel Spirit to bring her back up to 100% HP. We talk about it all the time. When you get a unit like a Princess, a Magic Archer, a Musketeer, a Dark Goblin, a Firecracker that you cannot get to, stays on the board for more than 10 seconds, it literally is inhaling your elixir. That's all it's doing.
Yeah, and that's a great word, inhaling the elixir. I want to go back and look at that replay here in a moment. There was a Skeleton's drop around the Musketeer. I don't know if it ended up saving the Muskie in that moment or not, but we, of course, will see. Schwarzen not able to break past the Barb Hut, even with the lightning work.
Yeah, and I'm curious if that first lightning was as detrimental to his success through the entirety of the game, because it feels like he'd be able to make that elixir back over time. But Lapacati didn't really make many mistakes, and there were a couple moments where I thought he could be more aggressive, and maybe a younger Lapacati would have done that. This moment right here is great. He baits out the lightning on the left, and he goes full sell to the right. He doesn't want this right-hand tower, Rich. He wants his opponent to commit elixir to it, so he ends up eating a couple Baby Dragon shots here on the left. That's a slight misplay by Lapo, but then you see here, this was his true plan all along. It's the Royal Hogs with the Musketeer behind.
And a huge push. You do see the Barb Barrel to take the Heel Spirit off. Doesn't matter, though. You get the connection, 844 remaining, and this was the big swing in the game.
Yep, Royal Giant coming back across. Not going to matter here as we move into the next part of the replay. Another massive bridge battle with Royal Hogs in the back. Heel Spirit landing time and time again for Lapacati. And by the way, this is our favorite little Musketeer here, just hanging on for dear life.
And you do see the Skeletons picking up the bar barrel, slides on through to say, just please get this Musketeer off the board. But then the Skeletons do pick up the bar barrel and keep her on. Just a tough situation for Schwarzen. Lapacati now with match point here for Space Station.
Yeah, and you know, this is a tough spot. Schwarzen, even as good as he is, we both felt Lapacati should come in and that he would have a favorable matchup in this set, just strictly based off of experience. And honestly, as you watch Lapacati, it's kind of crazy to see him mature. Just as you only see him on screen, but we've seen him on stage and on screen, he has that same little smirk and smile, but it's a little bit more contained. He knows that he has to work really hard to get wins in this league. He's a great player, he's a flashy player, but he wasn't making some of those crazy moves that he did when he was younger in his career that ended up hurting him later on in games.
What I really liked seeing here, Andrew, in that same idea, talking about his maturity, let's go into game number 2, was that he was obviously not feeling as good as he often feels. You saw looks of frustration, a couple of the hair blows, and normally for Lapacati, that spells disaster. This time he wasn't feeling as confident, it felt in some points, but still played well. Huge growth for the player from Space Station.
Yeah, and you know, another thing that you and I touched on a little bit, and this is just as this match is starting to unfold, Lapacati was feeling a definite bit of homesickness there in his second season of CRL, and it was affecting his mentality and his gameplay and his chemistry with the team. He's back home, he's back in comfort, he's back with his family, and he's playing very well.
Schwarzen sets up Mega Knight in the back, so a whole lot of legendary for Schwarzen in game number 2. Feels like he's trying to play a level 1 deck.
Yeah, he's like, just give me all the legendaries and then 1 elixir cards. So Skeleton Dragon's behind the Mega Knight here, Miner in.
Heal Spirit helps on the defensive side this time for Lapacati. Pretty even, 22-46 to 22-68.
Yeah, Lapo gonna probably have somewhat of a difficult time catching these miners if you look at what he's got in response. That Knight is his best tank. I'm not sure what those other 2 cards are quite yet, what variation he's going with, but not gonna be a lot of fun to pick up those miners as we get into double and triple and they start coming out much more quickly.
Well, it feels like it might be Balloon Cycle with the... No, it's not. Never mind. It's going to be Graveyard. Just as I said that, it felt like it could have been the Balloon Cycle deck, but with Bar Barrel instead of Royal Recruits.
Yeah, and this is kind of
instead pulls the poison out.
What we were setting up is just this Knight now being out of cycle. Does get some nice healing there from the Heal Spirit, so we won't see a miner at this moment. But again, in the future, could be tough for Lapo to pick up those miners.
Just as you called it, Miner comes in, Bar Barrel goes high to deal with the Bandit, but she survives, dashes right to the Knight.
Yep, and now the sequence of how do I deal with the Mega Knight being in cycle and the Knight out. So it's just going to be this weird game of back and forth.
Well, I like the pressure here from Lapacati. Rather than deal with the Mega Knight, trap the Mega Knight in the back and get your cycle back where you want it to be.
Yeah, that's a really good point. This Mega Knight's actually taking so much damage that Lapacati isn't going to have to play or pull off some miracle defensively. He's just kind of back to even, and that Mega Knight is pretty low.
And that was a ton of tower damage, Andrew.
Yeah.
328 remains, so getting pressure down and trapping the Mega Knight back there so that essentially the Graveyard was tanking for everything else. Huge damage for Lapo, massive lead going into sudden death.
Graveyard tanking for everything, eating through your opponent's tank, barely getting touched. Lapacati doing it in style right now. The young Belarusian just a couple moments away from what feels like a pretty easy 2-0 1v1 set. And you know what? Take him out of 2v2, pop him into King of the Hill in 1v1, and he still impresses.
Skeleton Dragons get on tower here. Ewiz late. Schwarzen just had no elixir. Lapacati drops the GG well played and puts the poison on King Tower as well. Very happy the young man. Space Station avoids the drama of a loss to Misfits.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I just feel for Air Surfer right now. He just put up a great sweep in King of the Hill. He gets benched in the 1v1 because he's not allowed to play because he got swept in the 2v2, or not swept, but beaten in the 2v2. So they get this really unfavorable matchup of any other people on their roster, Schwarzen or Bob the Rock, against Lapacati. It's just not a good place to put your team in, but they don't really have any other answers at the moment.
Yeah, it's really rough, and it shows you just how important figuring out what your 2v2 is supposed to look like is. And this was that great play here. Had a bunch at the bridge. We're talking about how do you deal with the Mega Knight? Don't. Play Graveyard, let the Mega Knight tool around there in the back and get distracted. And that was the end of the game, right?
Yeah, and the Mega Knight finally crosses the river with 1/3 HP, and that's it. Lapicati knows it's basically cruise control from here on out. You get the High Knight here, dealing with kind of all this stuff coming in. Another pretty satisfying bridge battle for Lapicati, and he just goes, all right, let's go back on the offense. These Skeleton Dragon...
Andrew... I was going to say, I'm looking at this, and Misfits, now through 4 matches, has only won 1 total set. They've lost 4 2v2s, 3 King of the Hills, and now 2 1v1s. They have won 1 King of the Hill set total. This is just absolute disaster right now for Misfits.
And you know what the worst thing is the set that they won is against a team that didn't even get a win for beating them. So it's like this really weird, just like lose-lose situation for Misfits and for Pain in that situation. So we don't need to go in on Misfits. They already know what's happening right now, or they don't know what's happening, but they know it's a problem. Spacestation Gaming showed a lot of promise today. A little bit of kinks, if you will, that are still getting ironed out in the 2v2. AC and RF still seem a little bit off in communication and timing, but they still were able to pull out the win. Samuel Basoto, fine for now, but as you get closer to playoffs and into playoffs, which I know is what Spacestation is going for, he's starting to become a little bit of a, I don't want to say a worry, but an inconsistent performer.
Well, here's the great part, Andrew. You have Lapicati. So if Samuel has the hot hand, you go with Samuel. If Lapo has the hot hand, you go with Lapo. And that's the great part about having 2 talented, young, top-tier players like this. There's a lot of flexibility in the Space Station lineup, especially if AC and RF are on the same page.
Yeah, so I think for now, what Trainer Luis might do is keep AC and RF in that 2v2, try to get Samuel back to fighting for him in King of the Hill, and then if Lapo's having a bad day, that's fine, throw Samuel back in the 1v1, but until Sam's where you need him, and until Lapo shows you that he's not performing the way that you expect, I think we stick with the lineup we saw today for Space Station.
The one change I might make, Andrew, is maybe give Samuel a shot at the leadoff hitter spot in King of the Hill. Not just get him a chance at a win, but give Samuel a chance at going ahead and getting 2 or 3 wins. A big performance in King of the Hill, a chance to play without having already seen a teammate lose in King of the Hill, I think that could do wonders for the young man's confidence.
Yeah, so, Space Station Gaming still having some things to figure out, but a great weekend for them. Gonna walk away with a nice dub today. I don't know. I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty bad for Misfits, though, and I especially feel bad for Air Surfer because I thought he played really, really well today, and he just wasn't able to do anything about it.
Yeah, it gets really, really confusing because you don't know what they do with 2v2. I want to know what's happening internally, why Schwarzen and Bob aren't the 2v2 duo. After what you saw from Air Surfer today, after what Wings can do overall, you feel like they might want to go back that direction.
So look at that. Making up just a little bit of ground here, trying to catch up with you and the Spaniards. You, Koji, and Manu at 15-3. Great job predicting there. I am at 14-4, right in front of Twitter at 13-5, and Deco and Bruno just a little bit behind. I'm actually shocked that Deco did pick someone other than Pain Gaming, but trying to be a little bit more of a realist. And otherwise, we're basically even across the board. So pretty good on our predictions. A couple surprises this weekend. And of course, our 2 double headers this weekend, Space Station and Cream Real Betis. Space Station going perfect. Cream struggling just a little bit yesterday. As we look at our top 5, Rich, talk to me about these guys.
SK Gaming undefeated, dominant today. And it's going to be very difficult for teams to get in their way as time goes on. Tribe Gaming and Space Station now tied, not just in record, but also in set differentials. So second and third all neck and neck right now. In 4th place, Team Queso, and Dignitas still in the top half of our standings at 2-1.
Yeah, Cream Real Betis falling down to that 6th place position at 2-2, but still expecting a lot out of that squad. They've shown us very, very much potential here in the first few weeks as we get into match week 4. Team Liquid 1-2 still trying to figure things out and find a place for Razor. Chivas Esports, Pain Gaming, and Misfits almost going to say goodbye to their season if they cannot pick up a win going into next weekend. So let's take a look at what they may be facing off, because between them, they're sitting at 0-10, those three squads.
Pretty rough going so far. Kicking things off next Saturday. It's going to be Liquid and Queso, a battle for the middle. Chivas Esports trying to disrupt the Cinderella story of Dignitas. And then a big-time battle, which could have some serious playoff implications, some seeding implications for later in the season. Spacestation Gaming currently at 3-1 against the 4-0 SK.
Sunday, the 11th, we'll be starting off with our first doubleheader team. Chivas Esports going up against Misfits. At that point, hopefully one of them, I guess it would be Chivas, would have a win. If not, they'll be battling for that first W. Then it'll be Tribe and Cream, which should be kind of a preview of a matchup we could see in playoffs. And then once again, Pain Gaming and Team Liquid to close things out on Sunday. That feels like a must-win for both squads. However, I still give a slight advantage to Team Liquid, although it is shocking I'm only saying a slight advantage at this point.
Yeah, I feel like Team Liquid kind of needs to come out of that weekend with a 2-0. A 1-1 wouldn't be a disaster. They'd still be in the mix for playoffs, of course. But I really feel like a 2-0 for Team Liquid is what they need to not feel like there's a fire in the kitchen.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with that right now has just been figuring out where to place Razor. Will we see Canario and Surge back in 2v2, but then when it happens to the 1v1, I think Igor just stays over there. So a lot of adjustments needing to be made over the next 6 days as we get back in on match day 1 of our week 4 on Saturday. Chivas, Pain, and Misfits not picking up any wins is really, really rough here. They have to. If they want to even be playoff contenders, every single one of them needs to pick up a W next weekend.
Yeah, you talk about how 6 of the 10 teams make it into playoffs. You go, hey, 6th place, you can make 6th place, but right now, you have 3 teams that are separating themselves from that 6th place spot significantly. It's going to be a difficult job to battle back even into that position at this point.
Yeah, and speaking of battles, make sure you go and check out Break Time Battles as soon as we're out of here. StatsRoyale.com, .cam. Get as many battles Get as many battles in, as many wins in as you can. Our number 1 player will be playing against St. Belican next week, and of course, the top 5 will be getting swag from Supercell. Top 50 will be shouted out on stream, and by shouted out, I mean read on screen, because there's no way I'm going to read 50 of your names. I do love you, though.
Yeah, but go to statsroyale.com, so make sure you get all those different pieces for it there at the end. Andrew, MVP picks for this day, huh?
All right. I think if I'm going to go MVP for the day, I got to go with the God RF. I mean, he's put up so many great performances all weekend long. 2v2, 1v1, King of the Hill. That's my guy.
You know, I have to disagree with you there on this one, Andrew. It's got to be the German fella, OP Sam. Came out in 2v2, got 2 wins, came out in King of the Hill with the big-time sweep. I'm going with the mad scientist himself.
Look, I'm usually a guy that's pretty prideful, but I feel like you swayed me. I got to go back to OP Sam. I totally forgot about it. I don't know how. I'm kicking myself over it. I guess I'll take a break, and I'll see y'all next week.
Forget about it. Get out of here. And you guys getting out of here as well. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, YouTube. Go ahead, hit subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Make sure you come back. 10 a.m. in the West, 1 p.m. in the East Coast, 7 p.m. Central European Summertime. I'm Rich Slayton. That's Andrew Guy. We'll see you right back here for more CRL.
Take care of yourself, yo.